Welcome back, everybody, to Advantage in Paradise. Hope you enjoyed our lovely intro video, created by Alex, Tim, and myself a while back. Well, let's jump right into our recap for tonight. Last we met, the Wayward Five, exhausted from combat with the Pale Covenant, began working with the people of Nepherdala and Oriel to clean up the battlefield and investigate the crypts beneath. There, they found much of the tombs had been pilfered ages ago, and the lower chambers flooded with icy waters. Using the magic of her spear, and with the aid of Wiswick's golems, Katya explored the waters. She found an old sarcophagi surrounded by the bloated corpses of what were likely undead before they defeated Narasoth. Beyond this, she found a barrier of magic. She discovered it was permeable, but likely an anti-magic field. Together, save Wiswick, who stayed behind with Yexerid, the party descended into the depths, passing the barrier. Passing the barrier, they found Narasoth's lair. All manner of stolen heirlooms and magic items were found, including what was left of her sacrifices. Horrific chimes made from the bones of the Covenant's victims. Huron saw to the destruction of such heinous relics and hopefully helped the spirits of these victims find peace. Among these magical items, a marble amulet depicting the symbol of Armagh, the white raven and a chained god, was found. Later that night, amongst the stoic celebrations of victory, Huron took the amulet and, after resisting and dispelling its beguiling effects, communed with Armagh. The forsaken goddess spoke with him about the dangers of the Harbinger, of the bestial nature of the Pallid King, and what dangers lie in the horizon for our heroes. Later that night, Kaze and Huron met to discuss what they've learned. In these conversations, Kaze asked if Scarlet might still be alive after her body had disappeared. They discussed the nature of the Crimson Core and how certain members pledged their souls to the Crimson Cirrus, or so Scarlet had told them. Kaze suggests using the sending spell. In doing so, Huron reaches out, and to his surprise, reaches a still living Scarlet. But all she can say in response is, "Huron, help me." During this ritual, he felt a presence surrounding Scarlet. The same parasitic magic used by Maius, the Scathefulum. They fought so long ago, and Huron had suffered so much at the hands of back in Sumerlinden in Season 1. The horrible creatures from the Shadowfell, known as the Scathefulum, have some connection to the Crimson Court, it seems. At least whatever holds Scarlet. Before they rested for the evening, Timber uses the dream spell to continue to harass Thatcher, telling him that Kinsley now controls his sister, and he played out a scene of Scarlet killing not only Thatcher but his butchers as well, with her father's reforged dagger, their father's reforged dagger. Before the end of this scene, Timber learned that Thatcher is after something or someone known as the Velarians, and that when he finds them, he will expose Kinsley. Uncertain what this means, the two of them plan to start bright and early the next morning. But for now, our heroes found rest and dream before the adventures ahead of them. So, the Wayward Five all have an actual night of rest. And awake on the first morning of Lunan Gloam, snowy shadow, on a Vensdog. What would you like to do? Huron, you've been awake for the last 4 hours.
Actually, I did 2 trances because I used a bunch of spells to commune or do things to spell magic. Actually, was what it was. Sorry, what's the month?
It's Lunan Gloam.
Lunan Gloam.
The Snowy Shadow.
Yeah, that's. I just need the proper name, please.
It's January.
Oh. Well. Happy New Year. Kieran says to no one in particular.
It's not how the year works.
That's not how it. Oh no. Kieran doesn't say that. He panics. All right. Game face, folks. Come on. What? Stop fooling around. All right. I assume Kaze's still asleep. So during this time, Kieran is going to gather his incense, as clerics have wont to do, and he is going to cast Legend Lore.
Yeah, everyone else is definitely going to be sleeping a little longer than you, because they all drank pretty heavily the night before.
Ourselves, Elysian elves specifically. I'm out of focus.
Okay. And what are you casting Legend Lore on?
Excuse me. Huron is casting Legend Lore on is it Valerians or Velarians?
Velarians. I said Velarian last week, but the way it's spelled is actually it's Velarians. Valar. Where's my notes? It's in the recap. Valarians.
Those folks. Huron is going to cast Legend Lore on.
Okay. Let me just remind myself of the spell features. Current tales, forgotten stories, or the secret lore.
Give me your lore, Sean. Give it to me. Give it.
So the incense burns before you. The ivory
is there
because it doesn't get consumed.
No.
I imagine the ivory makes like some symbol that means Legend Lore. And usually at this point you are pulled into a vision, spatial or time warped vision by Ilyvanya's magic to understand or experience something of significance, legendarium, legends that's whispered about. But right now, you just smell some nice incense as you receive no vision.
Did the spell go off?
Yep.
Okay.
What you are requesting of Legend Lore is not legendary. There's a line. If the thing you named isn't of legendary importance, you gain no information.
Throw the spell out. Never use it again.
Throw the ivory in the trash.
I imagine Kieran is upset.
I would be too if I was Kieran.
He sits there probably for a solid half hour, 45 minutes. It's an hour. The sun is now rising. Actually, I'll say until Kaze wakes up, Kieran just sits there staring intently. And any fly on the wall would gradually watch his face in a calm, stoic demeanor, eyes closed, waiting for the vision with one arm. The other one's still a little nub. Opens one eye, is like, is this kind of nudges the ivory. Maybe I just by the blessed twilight moon, show me what I want with boon.
You see, like, as you're like saying this, your breath like displaces the smoke of the incense, and you like kind of like, I imagine, like get excited like it's moving because you're so used to the incense just turning into things in front of you, and it's just it smells real nice in here.
Ilyvania. Paze. These Velarians. I'm saying that right?
Velarian.
Just went over that.
Look.
It's all good. Valerian is close enough. Huron
You
can mispronounce
originally
things in
said.
real life.
That's what you originally said.
I know it is. And I was
That's what
wrong.
I wrote down.
And I'm out of focus. These Velarians. I almost said Velarians. The Crescent Heart's magic showed me nothing, actually. Usually doesn't go this way. It's quite a lot of incense that I'm burning right now. Yes. Yes, my only thought is...
Do you imagine if right now I made it so that you got nothing from legend lore because Thatcher mispronounced Velarians? But no, that's not the case.
I am just guessing here. But there might be nothing legendary about them? I'm not sure about that exactly, but... Right. Well, I thought I had a library card to the infinite knowledge of the Crescent Heart, but apparently it is only for restricted access. And the public stuff is out of my reach. Who would have thought? Me! The chosen of Illyphania. Denied information. So sorry.
Do you imagine if Illyvania was just like, I don't know who the fuck that is?
Your card's expired, bro. Like...
You didn't pay last month? yeah, you have 50 cents in overdue late fees.
We need more incense from you if you want to keep returning lore.
My only thought is they're not a legend, which I'm not sure how that works. They may not be of this plane. They may not be even known to most here, or they could just be some mundane people. Or creatures, or... Yes, of course. Still. And he kind of toes the mounds of burnt incense. This was rather annoying. And he, with a huff, Kieran gets up and goes, well, that didn't quite work, but, what about Thatcher? Well, if I could simply ask that madman his motive, well, I'm sure Scarlet asked him plenty of times when she was there. I think simply sending him word that Scarlet is no longer with us to help corroborate the dream you sent him may at least... Well, at least it gets him off our back for the foreseeable future. I would think he doesn't really have a grudge against us, specifically, just his sister that he's so obsessed with. Here, let me cast a sending to him now. Kieran, cast sending. To Thatcher, also known as Reese, to some, but not to others. And he is going to say, Dearest Thatcher. We're using Sending Plus. Screw that. I have this process. Dearest Thatcher, I reach out to you now with grave news. Your sister, Scarlet or Rowan, was killed in our travels. Though, as I sought to resurrect her, her body was taken by someone or something. Of what, I'm not too sure. I don't know where she is now, and I only do this in memory of her, to let you know, as her next of kin, that she's no longer of this world. Signs off.
Okay. You would get a response. As Thatcher has been awake for the last 5 hours. And has taken some psychic damage. Who has taken her? Who has her body? You can have a conversation with Sending Plus.
Okay, I wasn't sure if like he. Okay.
Yeah, you don't hear anything back.
Right. As I stated, we're not sure.
Where did she die?
You're saying you don't know where we are right now?
Somewhere south of Endurance.
This is where our travels take us, yes.
I imagine she died there? In the Beastlands? Unless you run afoul of the Endurance, too. Not just the Northerners.
She's died. Reese, your sister, who tried so hard to find you and save you, is dead. It is out of professional courtesy that I send you this message now. And in remembrance of Scarlet.
Do you close off the Sending Plus, or do you allow him to respond?
I hold a minute.
Okay. You would hear him respond, the last thing he responds with. And I mean, the limited conversations you've had with Thatcher have been, he's always playing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's not playing here, he's actually asking you questions. Like, this is the most genuine conversation anyone's had with Thatcher probably in a long time. Thank you. This doesn't mean we're friends. I don't think you thought that, but thank you.
Crescent heart guide your soul. Signs off.
Okay. I think you would generally be able to get a vibe that the mingling, the weird dreams and you sending this now is definitely had some kind of effect on him.
Coming out of the sending, Kiran looks over at Kaze and goes, "Well, he was awake, so clearly your dreams, nightmares, kept him up. He was clearly a little off guard. For the first time in, the limited amounts of times I've spoken with him, he didn't seem insane. He simply wanted to know where she was, who took her, where she died. He knew we were south of Honduras in the Beastlands, but I didn't say anything specific. Simply letting him know that she was gone. Hopefully this is one less thing we have to worry about while we finish this up.
By the way, Wiswick is passed out in the corner of this room. He fell asleep in here.
Whoa, I
I'm
thought
pretty
I was
sure.
still at the mud
He was
house.
with me.
Oh, I
Yeah.
forgot you went to the mud house. Never mind. You two are. Oh, that's right.
I'm passed
That's
out
like the
on
one
couch
scene I
with
forgot.
like 3
'Cause you guys
lollipops.
and you took the hallucinogenic mud wine. That's
Yeah.
right. Oh,
This
you guys
is
aren't
why-
gonna wake. You guys
Yes,
aren't gonna
why-
wake up for another hour or two.
That's why Katya always ends up at the mud house.
You're right. You're right. You're right. Sorry. That's like the literal one thing I
How
forgot. Okay.
dare you?
Wow, that's
It's
a
fine.
B
I got a B.
minus
I got
for
a B
you.
minus. It's
B
fine.
minus, yes.
Well,
C
I
plus.
don't mind failing sometimes. It helps me to get better.
He's the teacher, he could cheat.
That's true. I am the teacher. All right. So in that case, then you guys would notice that Wiswick is nowhere to be found in here. If you go downstairs to maybe see if they're there, you wouldn't find Wiswick or Katya. You would find Oriel is eating breakfast at the bar. He's having a meat pie with a coffee. So there is coffee here in Honduras, but you just see him and his retainers just having breakfast.
So Alex is the one that's lagging, or is it me?
Alex is lagging a little. Yeah, it's
Okay.
not you. It's not you.
What'd you say? Ah. Loot isn't the word I would use, but a quick look through might be beneficial. Anything he has on Hairfost would.
And you see, he was like, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that's right. Well, my belongings are still. We left in such a hurry. Some of my belongings are still there. And I'd like to acquire the goods of that Gwyn representative and lay his body to rest appropriately, whether he not rot in a dungeon or be thrown in a ditch.
Of course. Real quick, Oriel. Have you ever heard of the Velarians?
The Velarians,
Oh, yeah.
of course. They were an old family, old house of Oxland. They had significant, I would say, quarrels with the House of Aemon, the House of the the dynasty that rules the country. They have a long history in Oxland. They were seen as supporters of the Scythian rebellions. They were seen as... Generally, they were seen as tricksters, always trying to acquire more for their house, and they did not care who they betrayed in the process. They are an old house, shrunken though. They one of the original houses, or so they claim, that came to this continent at the beginning of Sverwold and then Oxland, but these days I didn't even know what's become of them. I've not been gone from Oxland for so long. Last I was there, they had much of their wealth taken from them by the king for treasonous or accusations of treason.
Is this the current king, Heinrich?
No, his father.
Not that I care about human politics.
Yes. No, I recall them well. I knew the son of the head of house. Yes. And you see, Oriel is like, at first he's just like talking casually with you, and now he's like, you can see he's thinking back. He's lost in a few memories. Yes, we were very young. He's not much older than I am. Jonathan Velarian. Yes.
Well, if it means anything to you, Thatcher of the Syndicate, Highland Syndicate that is seeking them out for some reason. Right, Kaze? That's what he said?
Well, I suppose it would. What would matter is what Thatcher wants. The Velarians held many secrets. My understanding is that they did serve King Ethelwulf in his early reign. Spy masters. Until their betrayals. I suppose potentially they might still hold on to some secrets of the great houses. The Dukes of Mark, such as Kinsley, or even the Duke of Doris, with the Queen in Sverwold, her family. In politics of the Quintarchy is complicated, long, and oppressive.
Just another piece of the puzzle of a very complicated jigsaw of sorts.
Last I knew, they had what was left of their estate was in Cadolan, and their lands were stripped from them, taken. All manner of producible farmland or acreage of timber was all taken by the House of Aemon to secure their throne.
Interesting.
You must understand, 20 years ago, there was no room in the minds of the lords of the north, dissident as the Gwyn advanced and grew, quiet influence. House of Aemon would crush any. It's the sin of the father. Lethal Wolf. I hope in his old age and in the peace he helped create, I suppose. You may have saw those deeds differently. I hope. Nothing else for the sake of Heinrich.
Indeed.
Well, you see, they're quite a secretive house, and they kept their...
Let's quickly see if we can't find anything useful in Yexerid's estate, as well
Yes.
as Oriel's things.
Yes, we're to leave today. Yes. And he looks over to Gil and Rosen, who are there. You know what to do. Make sure we have everything. If you can find, I haven't seen her at all this morning, but if you can find Katya, sure we have what we need. Yes, we'll have the carts ready, truthfully, within the hour. If there's anything else needed, I would acquire it within that hour.
Speaking of Katya, does anyone know where she and Wiswick are?
I've not seen them at all today. I didn't partake in the revelry last night. Mm-hmm. You're talking about Lollop. Yeah. I saw them leave late into the evening, but if I'm not mistaken, as is always the case, although thankfully she did not get into a fight before leaving tonight, you can find them at the Mud House. You see Sunny just sort of like sighs. A deep, heavy turtle sigh. Shakes her head. She can't tisk.
No. Do you tisk with your lips?
Yeah, wait, actually. No, you don't. Well, I guess
I guess you need
yeah.
teeth, and she would have a beak of sorts.
It would sound like that. So it would just be the tongue that does it.
Yeah.
That's the real questions in D&D. How does a turtle tisk?
You can tisk with this, or you can tisk with that. Sorry.
Shouting from the other side of the room, you hear, "That kobold huntress is definitely passed out at the Mud House.
Yes.
You should just go with Roach."
I'm sorry, Roach, was it? That kobold huntress may be a drunkard, but she took down the avatar of Hairfost in a death knight. Can you do that, little goblin?
How dare you?
I'm sorry, and where were you in the fight to defend this village? The battle for Neferdala, I don't think I saw you at all. And trust me, I was looking.
You see, he just starts walking away and walks out of the park. God's damned visitors and the kobold huntress. And he just hops away.
How rude. Yes, I will go gather the others if you want to head to the estate. Really, Wiswick's probably the best at investigating, let's be real. That's fair. Let's gather our allies and then go as a group. Just for fun.
Okay. All right, so you see Gil and Rosen finish up their breakfast, finish their coffees, and scurry off to go and get the horses ready. You do see, like, Rosen does kind of, like, tap on your shoulder before you leave, Kieran. It's like, I hate to bother you, but I just wanted to know exactly the best method of tending to your... undead horse?
Oh. Yes.
Do they need food?
That's a very good question. Is this Rosen or Gil?
It's Rosen.
That's a very good question, Rosen. And Kieran, like, leaning down, like, claps them on the shoulder that I don't have an answer to.
Right.
And Kieran just leaves.
Fuck.
And, like, is like, ooh, forgot about that.
The horse behaves like a horse. It definitely does not need food, but it will eat food.
Okay.
So they'll probably feed it a bunch of food and waste it. But anyway, they go off. You start to head. You guys did see the mud house at one point, so you would know where to find it. You would pass through the old quarters into the stilts. Through the stilts, there is a path in the alley that leads to behind some of the buildings to kind of, actually, weirdly enough, like the Axelborn have created an island essentially by like dragging mud and other earthworks to create a slight hill that goes above the water line, where they used a hoe, and then they built this massive mud structure there that kind of looks like I described it last week, like a gourd. You would see there's no lights on inside. There's just this kind of like wooden door that's kind of been like jammed into the mud. That is just looks like it's driftwood that they've built into a door. And if you enter in, you would see inside that the entire floor, while some of it is covered in water, you see some Axelborn that are just kind of sleeping in the water, kind of rolling back and forth. And then you can kind of see towards the middle of the room, by the bar itself, is a pile of Axelborn. They all sleep in piles all over the place. And in the middle of that pile, you would see Katya laying there, and she is 100% like just like holding in one arm Wiswick and in one arm Lollop, like teddy bears.
Yes.
And there's just this chorus of snores and weird axle pops and the sound of air escaping from the pile. Just a lot of and then like you would actually, I mean, generally though, if you just look at the space, you would see there are those beautiful carvings in the ceiling I described before, depicting the different type of axle dragons that they worship. And the place reeks of sour wine. And you would see like several like clay jugs that have been emptied or tipped over, and then like a whole bunch of them behind the bar itself.
What an interesting culture these creatures have. Lovely artwork. Anyways, and Kieran slams his staff down, casting Minor Illusion to create his voice echoing throughout the area, and goes, "Time to wake up! We've got adventures to go on!"
You would hear a cacophony of...
Oh my god. Yeah.
What's
Katya-
going on? We're under attack!
Katya 100% sits bolts right up and chucks the two of them across. What the fuck? Oh my god.
Splashing all over the place.
Wiswick typically, like, knowing that this is how things go, he just rolls over and just gets a face full of mud.
The cool mud feels really good right now.
Nice.
Just like clinging to his beard and coming down.
I just cast prestidigitation and I'm clean and I'm like, can I get a barrel to go?
Did it have to be so loud?
I thought it was the most efficient way.
You see out of the back behind the bar, you see a much larger Axelborn, much more round, probably like a good foot taller than all the other ones. Looks a little bit more mature. Like they look a lot more like a salamander than they look like an Axelborn. Sorry, Katya, resisting saying Scarlet. Katya, you would know this. You would know this as Mama Mud. And that within particularly Mudborn, Axelborn, there are these like matrons that are the few Axelborns that actually go through maturity and become like an actual not neonatal child adolescent form. And that's why she looks more like a salamander. She's darker skin, and she's much larger than them. And you see Mama Mud comes out with this contraption over her shoulders of wood that goes on either side that has buckets down, and there's what's in there. There's Axel Grog in there, which is not. It's 1% alcohol, and it's mostly oats. And kelp and other things found in either the swamps or the lagoon. And as she's carrying it on her shoulders, you see one hand is securing it, and the other hand is holding a stack of giant lizard horns that have been hollowed out to be cups. And as she's walking around, you see Axel Born are just holding their heads, and they just grab one of the horns and dip it in and start to sip it. And this regularly to be the breakfast of this little tribe of Axelborn. As Mama Mud comes through.
Katya, are you going to share this breakfast with us?
Do I have to? It tastes like
No,
shit.
it will help.
But it tastes like shit, Mama.
You know, it helps.
Ugh, fine. I will.
Do your friends be joining us?
Do you want some? It tastes like shit.
Why not?
I will sample this delicacy of your people.
She hands you all giant lizard horns. Dip them in at your own accord and take as much as you want.
Oh.
Kieran takes a small sampling to.
Okay. It's very earthy. It's very earthy. There are parts in it that you can kind of taste, and you kind of pick something out of your tooth, and you can see it's like an insect wing. There's chunks of worms in it.
Not bad. Needs a little salt.
Actually, you probably would like it, Wiswick. Considering you eat a lot of earthy foods, and your delicacies of you're right. The only thing it does lack is salt. I don't know if Kieran or Timber would like it.
Kieran's.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Kieran likes it until he takes out the insect wing, and then he studies it a little more closely, and he's like, "By the crescent heart, what is? I don't want to know."
Now you see it's high in protein, and it's high in nutrients. Just a little bit of alcohol, enough to get you going in the morning.
I don't think alcohol is really necessary for going in the morning. It's usually something that stops you at night.
Well, it's not. No mud wine.
That's for sure.
It helps with the hallucinations too, because there are some residual hallucinations.
Sorry, hallucinations.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What did
They're
you two
lovely.
get up to last night?
Oh, nothing. Nothing that I haven't gotten up to before. It's fine. It's fine. This
Kieran casts a sideward glance at Wiswick. Kind of almost like, are you okay, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good.
It helps with the derealization that comes sometimes when you hallucinate too much, and you might disassociate a little bit, and this helps ground you.
Did it ever occur to you that we want to dissociate? We
Well, I
want
know.
Got a
the
point.
hallucinations. Thank you.
Well, sometimes you gotta do stuff on a Venstock.
I don't want to do things on a Venstag.
Well, you have a contract to uphold.
Fucking
Stop.
fine. Let's go.
Yes, come, Kobold Huntress. Come, Wiswick. First, we're gonna stop by Yexard's estate and see if there's anything we can use.
She just, kind of like picks herself up on the spear, and okay, just kind of like, all right, let's go.
You see, Lollop is just asleep again. Wherever you threw him, he just immediately passed back out. He grabbed a horn of the Axelgrog, and he just sort of like sipped a tiny bit of it, and then just.
I'm gonna
Wait
look
down.
after Lollop. I think he had a little more than usual. He's kind of a hero of the town, so he celebrated pretty hard.
Yeah, she nods and wanders over to, and she just picks him up and tosses him over her shoulder. Or actually no, they've all taken the grog, so one of the buckets is empty. She just picks him up and puts him in the bucket.
No.
And then you see she grabs another Axelborn that looks really overly hungover as well and puts that one in the bucket. And then she's collecting the Axelborn that she knows drank too much to go and tend to them.
Have a good adventure.
We
I'll be
always
back.
do.
Thanks
Okay.
for the fun time. See you later.
Okay.
Can I get some of that wine to go?
You don't want it during the day, trust me. Just go. Take the grog and go.
Maybe best not to have hallucinations where we're going, yes?
I mean, I'm not gonna drink it on the ride there. I'm just thinking save it for a rainy day, you know?
If you want some Axel or mud wine to go, we're gonna give you a whole jug for 5 gold.
You never give me mud wine to go.
You never have gold.
Deal.
You got it. I'll get one ready for you.
Can we put this in the bag, Kieran?
Yes, right next to the very dangerous artifacts. We can put your hallucinogenic wines. Of course, why not?
But Kieran does open the bag of holding and allows
Yeah.
Wiswick to put the jug in.
Yeah. Mama Mud would come back with a very, the one thing you notice is the Axelborn are very generous. The 5 gold you spend on this wine, the jug that she gives you it in, probably with the right buyer would be worth 30 gold. With how beautiful it's been crafted out of clay and mud, and the beautiful Axel artwork on it. You see this one in particular has this vision of a cloud Axelborn flying around it in one panel, and then the next one below it has a sea axle dragon leaping out from the waves and landing in the water, and then in the next panel becomes a coral reef. And all of these have been carved in, you can tell by hand too, and then painted over beautiful colors, mosaics. These are the pottery of the mud Axelborn in particular is very valuable far away from their tribes.
they
Mama, I
fire
have
it
gold
in it?
now.
Would you like some mud wine to go?
No, I'm just letting you know I have gold.
Well, I can't wait for you to come back.
Well, I gotta say, this experience has been great for me. It really reminded me of home. And I really appreciate the generosity and everything. I want to give you something. And he's gonna cast. He's gonna create his golem, and he's gonna make it smaller, and he's gonna use its shape-shifting factor to morph it into a statue of Lollop with Snurfneblin style, like swirling, just artistry. Just make it look a little abstract, like put a little Wiswick flair in there, and then he essentially uses transmute earth and solidifies it, so it's like no longer a golem, it's a statue.
Oh,
Probably
that
a
is
huge
very
waste
nice.
of spell slots, but it looks real good.
You see a bunch of Axelborn all kind of like rush up to it, and they're like,
You could have had a fucking statue too if you came with us.
as they're like they like seem to not care about the Lollop part, and they're really interested in the Sphere of Nebulon language written on it, just because they think it looks cool. They really like how it looks. Axelborn don't have a written language, so they're just sort of like, they only really record things in murals. So they're just all like, you see them like running their fingers through the swirls and whatnot, and they're all like slapping the stone of it, like, and you can tell this is like a sign of respect and endearment.
The only actual language, like Snurfneblin words on the entire thing, just go around his waist, and it says Wiswick was here.
You see Mama Mud, who has Lollop sitting in the bucket on her shoulder contraption. I don't remember what those things are called.
A yoke.
Yoke, thank you. And she kind of like just like pats him on the head to wake him up, and like pulls his head up to look.
Isn't that nice?
Look,
See
it's
Lollop's like, he's like can't get his pops right because he's so dehydrated.
you.
Oh, is that me?
That's you. That is you. You earned it. This is what heroes look like.
I'm a hero.
No.
All right, Lola. Let's get you better. Have fun. Thanks for the statue in the middle of my bar.
You're welcome.
And you can leave the mud house, having left a beautiful sculpture of Lollop to represent his heroism, and Wiswick having gained the respect of this Mud Axel tribe by engaging in a hallucinogenic party and offering gifts. So you begin to head back through town, back through the stilts into the old quarters where Agexard's estate is. You can see like the town is like struggling to go back to normal this next day. You see there are these shops where the shopkeepers are just kind of like staring off into the distance as no one is coming to buy things because everyone's a little shook still. Like even their like stands are set up in strange ways. You see like traders coming in who don't know what happened. The last thing they heard really was just that the roads were dangerous. So they're just like coming through with livestock and other goods and wagons, and like confused why people aren't running up to greet them, and it's generally a little bit dismal. But not dismal, but stoic, because they are happy that they've been freed of this plight. But as I said, they are shook. You would notice as you start walking about halfway to Yexford's estate, you would notice small flurries of snow start to fall from above. And it starts to get a bit brisker. When you get closer to Yexford's estate, you would notice that the front gates are open, and you would see two guards out front. They are of Yexarid's guards, so they are still kind of working the estate in some way. You do not.
either of our friends?
You do see the tabaxi there. You do not see the one that you convinced
Right.
was being underpaid and overworked. But the tabaxi is there, and one other guard. I mean, truthfully, you would recognize them from the battle itself because Yexerid's guards did.
Right.
You'd see the other guard, not the tabaxi, is like a little injured. They have some wrappings, but strong enough to stand guard. Out front in the courtyard, you would see several crates are being dragged out of Yexerid's estate. As you can see, some of Xeris's guards are there, and they are collecting, essentially repossessing Yexerid's belongings for redistribution. What would you like to do?
Approaching the estate, Kieran kind of like hails the guards with his staff upraised and goes, "Greetings, fellow brave warriors. How fare you on this day?"
You see the injured dragonborn kind of takes a deep breath in. They have these muted blue scales. A good day. Yet to be alive.
Could I recall if this individual was on the left or right flank or one of the few? No, they all died. Never mind. The guards that were with me all died. Would I know if he was on the right or left flank?
Yeah, I'd say you have a pretty good memory of who served where, and this dragonborn fought with you would actually this one because Xeris had her own. She also commanded Yexerid's, so he would have been with Xeris on the left flank.
Gotcha. Kieran kind of gives him a deep bow and goes, "You did very well underneath the body of the undead Drake. I remember you. Blessings of the Crescent Heart upon you." He's gonna tap him on the forehead with his staff and just give him a little healing word to alleviate his wounds.
Absolutely. And you see he kind of gestures respectfully towards you with a nod. Blessings to you.
What's going on here? Is Xeris around?
He looks over to the tabaxi, then back to you, and says, Xeris is inside, taking stock of Yexerid's estate.
May we enter to speak with her?
Of course, Moon Elf.
Thank you, Dragonkin. And Kieran will, bowing to him and a brisk nod to the tabaxi. Kieran feels a little bad for the duplicity that they put over him. Walks into the manor.
Okay. As you're approaching inside, like as you're approaching, the doors are wide open. The snow is kind of kicking up in the courtyard. As the there's just a lot of workers just dragging things out. As you get closer, you would hear like hammering and like nails and like pulling things apart inside. And when you go in, you would see several workers moving all about, dragging like furniture and stuff. And yeah.
I just wanted to, as we were going in, lean over to Timber and say, maybe we should, since we're in and all, like, they let us go look around, perhaps we should just, sneak over to that tower and see if we can figure anything out before, the guards take everything away. This is the same place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fair enough. I mean, I just thought that
his sister might have been up there. Maybe we could find a clue or something, but all right, we'll talk to Yexerid first.
Cirrus, Kieran, obviously overhearing this, goes, Yexerid's sister tended to be behind the manor, not in the tower, back where the creatures stalked in the rear garden. But let's see what Cirrus has found. Maybe she's already gotten all the good stuff piled up for us in a corner somewhere. One can hope, right?
All I'm saying is, if I was an evil cultist, I'd want to live in the tower.
If there's a guard or anyone nearby, can Kieran quickly pull them aside and go, "What's in the tower?"
Yeah. You see, you go up to a guard, one of Xerxes' guards up by the front, and they just go, the tower.
Yes.
It was, the top floor was an old observatory, but kind of converted into a watchtower. It's, mostly a guard tower nowadays.
Damn it, so close.
There is some of the old observatory equipment up there.
You might
But-
find something worthwhile.
I would
I
check
wouldn't
in
wanna
with
take
Xerxes.
Their tools
course.
away.
That's fair. All right, so we go in,
'Kay.
find that hobgoblin.
Yep, she is in the middle of the room directing people as they're essentially pulling everything from upstairs and downstairs and putting it all in. You can see there's a cloth put over the body of the Gwyn representative, and you can see she's like has like her head in her hands as she's like talking to a few guards over that body. You'd see like a lot of stuff is piled into this main room. They're just getting everything into the main room to then be brought out.
Are there any books?
Yeah, actually, I imagine there would be several crates full of books that would be from Mixrid's office.
As like I imagine like some workers are moving them, Kieran motions, like points out with his staff and goes, "Leave those for a moment, please." As he approaches Xerxes and goes, "Madam Councilwoman."
Huron, what is it that I can do for you today?
We were going to be heading out, but quickly before we left, we were, and at this, Kieran gets kind of uncomfortable to like be admitting this to someone that's outside like the party, hoping that we might, and he's not making eye contact with her and kind of looking around, maybe see if there was a. Thank you, Kaze. And like Kieran sheepishly just like kind of nods and gets smaller.
Majority of his estate is being portioned off with the preparations to sell it to those who visit the traders and whatnot, and then the revenue from such is to go to the council coffers to then be redistributed to the citizens of Nefradala. That being said, we have portioned off some earnings from his estate as a thank you and reward for your aid.
Oh, well, that's quite kind of you, Cirrus. Thank you. Xerxes. You're not a seer, you're a Zier.
Yes. And you see
Kieran is
she's like even just from like yesterday, she like looks older and like tired. We have a lot of work to do here to clean up Yexrid's mistakes, and then decide what to do with him.
Of course. And our companion, Governor Oriel Clay, had some goods stored here that were taken from him upon his imprisonment. We were hoping to collect those and anything that the Gwyn representative had for our friend.
Yes, and you see she kind of directs you to a particular pile and says, that is whatever was collected from prisoners, and also whatever was kept within the guardhouse. So if there are any weaponry or armors that you are seeking, please feel free. Though we will be distributing the rest out to the highest bidders. But as far as the goods for each of you, we have collected from Yexerid's estate. He was, after all, the wealthiest member of the consulate. For each of you, including you, Kobold Huntress.
It's very kind.
Yes, you fought bravely. I saw what you could do, and if you come back from your contract with these workers, we have a lot of changes needed in Nephrodala. Perhaps the respect of your order's name needs restoration.
I would absolutely agree. Are you offering me a job? Is that what I'm hearing right now?
Potentially, we will discuss the contract upon your safe return from whatever these adventurers have hired you for, and we will also perhaps be discussing your drinking. But anyway,
There's nothing wrong with my drinking. It's how I do my job.
sure. She snaps. Timber's like, maybe I should join this monk order. As some guards walk over with each of your bounties that you will all receive 1,500 gold each.
I'm
Oh
sorry,
my
what'd you
God.
say?
1,500 gold each.
Like 5,000 or 5,000?
1,500.
1500.
1,500.
50,000 is, yep. What's this for? For what?
You lent him money.
Oh, no, please, Kaze. It's fine, it's fine. As some of our fellows have wont to say, Kieran says, staring down at Wiswick, I simply waste the resources we are given. Or
You're
hoard
getting
them.
better, Kieran. I mean, I could have sworn you were going to turn down the money, or at least, but you actually asked for something from someone. That was pretty great.
Well, when you're facing the entirety of a different plane of existence, too, actually, resources are going to be much needed.
Right.
Oh, the rotting Feywild and Carcery. You know how it is.
Of course, if you wish, perhaps another day I would have given you more of the estate, but we are trying to, as I said to you last night, things need to change in this town.
Nephrodala is a beautiful wealth of culture that I think is far overlooked within the Quintarchy.
I recommend you hiring a sheriff.
Yes, I have been thinking and speaking somewhat with Ishtiak Dubar about what formalizations we need to make. Perhaps the freewheeling nature of Nephrodala caused a little bit of this. But we thank you. Spoiler alert.
I have some openings.
Yes, I suppose we are getting ahead of ourselves, but that is somewhat what I wanted to discuss with you eventually. But for now, Jinx. There's anything of...
And the dawn and dusk watch over you. Kieran says, looking at Kaze like, what?
If there's anything specific upon these goods that you wish to take a small amount of, feel free to look. Do not take too much, of course.
I wonder what she means by too much, Kieran says, looking at the silverware. Or the gem-encrusted bowls that I'm sure Yexerd has.
Wiswick's perusing the books. See if there's
As
anything magical in nature.
As he does that, Kieran will also ask him, like, if you could look out for anything on Hairfost and maybe the Skaith Fulum, and I don't know if you would happen to have anything on yes. The
Oh, you mean the Velarians?
Ah, you know them then.
What's a
No, I just know how to
Velarian?
pronounce it.
Well, you see. That's right, we haven't told him. We'll catch you up in a moment, Wiswick.
It's not legendary.
It's not legendary information, but I think he might be interested in it, to say the least. But yes, anything on Hairfost, the Skaith Fulum, the Velarians, and if he has it, the Sea of Glass, and maybe the Glass Titan, anything on... And Kieran just starts giving him a long list of all the things that we have ever been interested in, ever in the history of this campaign.
Wiswick tries real hard.
I think I can... Go ahead.
Go.
I think I could be your reference for the Sea of Glass and the Glass Titan. Could I not?
So the Glass Titan, and then Kieran will quiz her.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna go through each of you and ask if there's something you're looking for, and then we'll do investigation checks. Kaze, is there anything you want to look for?
No, now that you asked specifically for it.
I still have this one from the from that town we're heroes of. Though I tried using it and it doesn't have a connection because I only have the one.
Yeah, the other one's here. No, I don't actually think you ever tried using it.
I don't have my notebook with me.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I did. And you
It's
were
just McClear's daughter on the other line.
Who's
Hello?
this?
The rock's speaking to me.
Dad, there's a weird man on the other end of this rock.
I'm not weird. How dare you? You're weird.
Give me an investigation check, Kaze.
Kaze.
18? Okay. All right. You find a strange set of candles. They smell like salt water. They smell like the sea, brine.
In?
There's in like a box. There's 10 of them in there. Okay.
Why are you taking candles?
Find them.
Whatever you
Dragon
say,
turtle
Kaze.
snot wax.
You find... Oh, God.
Oh God.
You find a... I imagine there's just like a junk pile that like is just like random goods that are just a little strange and like don't have explanations for them, like these candles. You find a stone that has kind of like these green jade filigree across it that when you grab it, it immediately, like in a 1 foot kind of area around your arm, like just like removes all dirt and grime. You find a garish cloak. That's it. And I'll say, because it's what you were specifically looking for, and I did say that this is a very insular house that was trying to be self-sustaining with their own internal guard, you find one pair of sending stones.
A
Yeah, they're bracelets. They're definitely like
Oh, they're not cufflinks. Like, hey, how's it going, guys?
Yeah, no, they're I'll say it does come in the form of a bracelet of like beads that has like a clear one stone on the bracelet that is the sending stone.
They're like the stones from Black Panther, and they go.
Yeah.
Sure, whatever you say, man.
Yeah. You killed the necromantic cult. I'll give you a few things.
Thanks.
Besides that level up. Kieran.
Kieran is looking for a gem-encrusted bowl worth 1,000 gold and 300 gold pieces worth of diamonds, and then he's going to look at the books with Wiswick, looking for the things that he already listed off to Wiswick.
Okay. Do you want to look for those things independently with him, with your own roll, or give him an advantage on the rolls?
I'll give him advantage on the books, because I imagine he might be going to those first. And he'll look for his magical ones first, and then Kieran will come over and bug him and like, Wiswick, yes, I know, but the mission, the quest.
Give me an independent roll for your pursuit of richly encrusted bowls and diamonds.
15. Does it help if Kieran like literally just asks one of the workers like, where is the fine dining ware?
Yeah, I'll say that does help. And you can roll with advantage. Where's the fine dining ware?
All right, 15.
It's still a 15?
Yeah.
I would say with a 15, you would not find a gem-encrusted bowl, but I'd say you can gather up enough like small diamonds to get 300 gold's worth.
Cool.
All right. Before I get to Wiswick's, because it's going to be a lot. Atsia, is there anything in particular you're looking for?
I'm just, well,
there would be some
let
nice
me
booze
finish.
here, probably.
Yeah. So that's the first. Yes, booze. It's just kind of casually looking to see what kind of drink is around, and kind of just poking with her staff just to see if there's any like potions of healing or potions of speed, because that was really great. Any sort of like buffs.
Okay, go ahead and give me an investigation check.
16.
16. Okay. You don't find a lot of like potions here. I'd say if you were to, with a 16, you do go over and start raiding the like guard section that they had, and you do find, with a 16, you find 2 greater healing potions and 2 minor healing potions. As far as the booze you're looking for, you would find the best booze you'd find is you'd find this like green bottle with kind of like decorative woven fabric over it. It looks very old. The label is kind of somewhat degraded. You find this. Generally speaking, there is just a pile of booze. This is just the nicest thing you find. It doesn't take much to find the pile of booze, but you do think it would be a little rude to take a bunch of it. But probably the nicest thing you find is this bottle. If you were to open it up and smell it, it would have some notes of grape, but more so overwhelming that is kind of a licorice scent. as you find a little bit of homemade a rook. It's just a very nice liquor.
Can you spell that for me?
ARAK.
A-R-A.
Yeah, it's usually strong too. It's very strong.
Excellent.
Should be mixed with a mixer or a splash of water.
Katya will look around, see if anybody's watching. Quick sip.
It burns pretty hard because it's probably like 60% alcohol.
Can Kieran have seen that out of the corner of his eye and goes, "You're on the clock. Let's try to keep the drinking to a minimum."
I was just taste testing, making sure it wasn't poisoned in case anybody else wanted it.
Of course, my apologies. Kieran
It is
says, rolling his eyes.
has a strong anise flavor, licorice flavor.
Not bad. Not bad.
Anise? Anise? Anise?
Anus.
No idea.
It's a thing.
You're asking for that one, Sean.
It tastes like Jaeger, but nicer.
Yeah, that's
which is what the anise flavor
Wait,
is.
Jaeger is the pinnacle of liquor. How dare you?
All right. So now, Wiswick, you have advantage for scouring the book collection.
Woohoo! Let's
Please remember
do
what
it.
I asked.
Give me a priority list of what you're looking for.
Well, before that happens, I'm going to spend a luck point.
Oh, you're
Nice.
lucky now. Oh no.
Lucky.
Those fucking counter
You're
spells
so
are gonna be stronger
lucky.
now.
Lucky. You're so lucky.
I wish I had more luck points. I got a.
You should have
What do you
3.
mean?
Well, I can't spend more than one on one roll, can I?
Yeah, you can. You can spend them all in a roll.
25, a 22.
You know what? I'll just take the 22. I think that's probably okay.
You
The
get to
25 didn't
choose.
count.
With luck, you get to choose which one you.
Why didn't the 25 count?
Because that was something I rolled before he told me to roll. I accidentally. hit the
Oh, it
button.
was a random roll.
Yes.
22 is still pretty good.
22 is still good. I mean, you can
I'm
use
gonna-
one more luck point if you want.
Nah, one's enough. I'm gonna save the other 2. I'm taking
Okay.
the 22. That's pretty high.
22. Okay. All right, now give me the priority list.
Priority list would be. I'll probably go with like Hairfost stuff first because that's like the most likely thing I think out of all of the things that Kieran mentioned, and then magic, and then whatever else.
Okay. Kieran, give me the rest of the priority list.
Scathelum.
Carcery's definitely number 3.
Ooh, that's actually yes,
Carcery?
Carcery.
Okay, cool.
I mean, yeah, Skithulum's same thing. What else you got for me?
Velarians, just because it's the big buzzword right now. And then probably anything on the Morseer conflict, as always, Pallid King, and maybe anything on Ilyuvania in the Beastlands.
All right.
Or-
Well,
Yeah.
what is Ilivania on the bottom like that?
No, I'm gonna say that what's it called Pallid King is 4.
Okay.
Ilyuvania and Velarians are definitely on the bottom because Wizard just
Wasn't even close. No. Try that again.
Hair frost.
There you go.
You see, as a DM, you just assume everyone, including yourself, are going to mispronounce your homebrew stuff. That's right. Oh my goodness. Narisoph the aerosol.
close.
Okay, so I've got Hairfost first, Magic second, Carcery third, Pallid King fourth. And then the rest is all just kind of in that second half.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Ilyuvania and whatever else you said.
Okay. So Hairfost, with a 22, you would definitely find not a book that's like on Hairfost specifically, but you find a book that is a legendarium of the God Drakes. It's probably the oldest book here. It's well gilded, and it probably is like a very old family heirloom. As far as
good one.
As far as magic goes, you would find, while Yexarid was not wizardly, the family had a history of magic users, including Narasoth. You would find a book that has some a lot of simple spells in it. That's like a not a beginner's wizard manual, but like a probably just like a family heirloom that had a series of spells in it that were favored by the family, with some extra notes in it, probably by Narasoth, maybe by that ancestor you saw that you found that pallid heart in. But you would find spells that are in there. You would find, I don't think you care that much about the lower level spells.
You just let me know what I got that I don't already have.
Okay. Well, I don't know everything that's in your spell book.
All right, just name them out. All right, I'll type. You could read them and then post them in the chat, or I could just type real fast. Or you could make it like a game. Like you could say, like, you're gonna give me like 50 spells, and I just have to type as many as I can, and that's what I get.
Cautious Caustic Brew, Animal Friendship, Magnified Gravity, Stone Shape, Ray of Sickness, Dominate Beast, Prismatic Spray, Charm Person, Create Undead, Flesh to Stone, and that's it.
I think I got. Let's see how many I got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know I'm probably not getting all of them, but you know what? 6 spells, not too bad. Thanks, Sean.
You got it. I'll just go through some of these low priority ones. Nothing on Scathulum, nothing on the Velarians. Anything on the Morrissey conflict would be stuff you've already probably read or looked into. Pallet King, nothing on that. You might Carcery. Carcery, you might find some. Maybe in some of those Morrissey conflict books, you might re-look in them to see if you can find anything on Carcery. I'd say you can take them or you cannot. Carcery is a very specific plane of existence, but it would be closely tied to any histories on the Morrissey conflict. There is no book that's like Carcery and you. How the prison outside world plane affects your day-to-day life.
Yeah, I don't think I would be really searching for, general guidebooks that would have
very specific, unique books is what you're looking for.
Yeah,
it's not like this is definitely like a gathered library of a wealthy family where most of it is history books and it's not like super specific history books. It's like when you go and parents got all those encyclopedias. I don't know. My parents had a bunch of encyclopedias. But
I just want to do the thing that the what's called the fancy people do in the in the shows where they're like, oh, fucking Dicyclopacies trash, and throw it on my shoulder. Look up the next guy.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. This might as well be a picture book.
I would say, there would be a lot of books that were imported from the Gwyn Empire, in the sense of when the Gwyn Empire took over the Beastlands as a client state. Like wealthy folks were like, bring everything in. We want to integrate. We want to be allied with this powerful force. We want to know everything we can about the Gwyn Empire. So there's a lot of Gwyn Empire stuff there, a lot of philosophy books, a lot of old like Beastlands text as well that are in languages you don't understand.
Ooh. Can I grab one of those? Whatever one that's the oldest.
Yeah. You can't read anything about like none of it is in languages you understand, but I know you have comprehend languages for later on. Yep. The cover just has a symbol on it that has a ruby-like gem in the center.
I'm very interested.
Within three emerald claws above it and one emerald claw below it, creating kind of like a beastly claw. And then a text that you don't understand the language of. But you got those spells, you got the Legendarium of the God Drakes, and I'd say that is probably mostly what you get out of this hoard of books.
Cool. I tuck away the stuff that I actually like. I tuck away the spell book, and I have the dragon book behind the old book from the Beastland, and I show Kieran the old book first, and I'm like, look how cool this one is. Isn't it fancy? I gotta decipher it later, figure out if we can find some good stuff. Oh yeah, and then there's this other thing you asked me for.
Oh, good work, Wiswick. Thank you very much for doing this.
My pleasure.
Takes the book and consumes the knowledge right then and
No. Okay. Anything else before you depart to go rejoin with Rosen and Gil?
Hey, is there any heavy plate armor here?
There is.
Is there a shield?
There is.
How about a light crossbow?
There is. Like honestly, any basic, like any like common level, armor and stuff is here.
Yeah.
I'd say there's like one. Like of the heavy armor, if you're looking for plate, there's like maybe you could gather together a plate armor set here. There is like a really obnoxious, like really well like filigreed plate armor that you can tell is probably like the family plate armor. Probably won't fit you right because there's like a tail hole for the for the dragonborn tail,
right,
and whatnot. But as far as like you could go into the guardhouse and find like. It might fit a little awkward, and you might have to go get it fitted in later on. But you could find a set of plate armor, or if you're looking for other heavy armors, like it's a guardhouse. They were intentionally stocking themselves with stuff to be self-sufficient. So you're gonna find most of what you might need here. Definitely shields. Yeah, there's absolutely shields.
Okay. I mean... Okay, yeah, we'll take it. Just in case. Just in case.
Okay. So you acquire a set of plate armor, and you acquire a shield.
Actually...
A light crossbow if you want, Wiswick.
I have a shield. I don't need a shield.
You had a shield this whole time.
Huron doesn't wear it because he has one arm.
Well, you've had it the whole time. That's true. It's true. This is the third day of arm growth, so only 3 more to go.
Yay!
Got half an arm right now.
Mm-hmm. You see the fingers are coming in. It's gross.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Just wrap that thing up.
Probably should have Timber look at it each night just to make sure it's all working right.
Right.
But okay, you have taken some basic goods, some other goods. You've accepted your reward. You see Oriel collects his goods, and you can see he is collecting some things off of the body of the Gwyn representative and speaking with Xeris right now, probably about that. Specifically, if Huron, you'd probably overhear or at least see a few things of with your amazing passive perception and lip reading abilities. You're mostly talking about the politics of this. Like Xeris is like, what's gonna happen to us because of this murder, and Oriel's kind of saying it's not your fault, blah blah blah.
Right.
Just make sure that you send word to the Empire, return the body, reestablish connection. Things should work out. Okay. Anything else? What? They're not. They're not Stones Villivania. That's true.
I got some stones of Villivania.
So, all three of those other items. I mean, obviously you could tell the cleaning stone was magic, but candles are magic also, and the cloak is magic. Okay. All right. So you all leave Yexer's estate.
I chances just like that.
Let me know about the position. Don't forget me.
Xeris is kind of like doing that thing where she's talking to someone and kind of like looks over and is like, yeah, we'll talk. But yeah, you begin to leave. You head back to the center of town, into the center of the old quarters, sloshing through the waters. The snowfall has gotten a lot heavier now, and you can kind of feel like even in the water, there's like this sloshiness of ice is starting to form in it. And it's much, much, much colder to the touch, which is okay for Katya and Wiswick, but for the rest of you, it's icy, biting, cold. Is there anything else you'd like to do in Nephrodala before preparing to leave?
Citizens, no.
Hey, Kieran, what are those Velarians? Like, why'd you tell me to look those up?
Oh, yes. Good point. So
much Wiswick doesn't know that happened last night.
let me catch you up to speed. It turns out that there's an old family within Oxland that our friend Thatcher is looking for. Shannon's doing something that's distracting me. What's that like, being distracted? The Velarians are an old family, and for some reason Thatcher is using them, or looking for them, to be used against... Ah, I see now. The Oxlanders.
They are called Oxlenders, so that is actually how their collective name is. Go on.
Oxlandish. So, Kaza, Timber sent a dream to Thatcher and communicated with him, saying, posing as Kinsley, blah blah blah, looking for the Velarians. I sent him a little message to be like, oh, Scarlet's gone, so hopefully that gets Thatcher off our back. He knew that we were down here, but not specifically where we were exactly. But yes, so it's not quite super important at the moment, but I'm sure at some point we'll come head to head with Thatcher again, especially after we rescue Scarlet.
It seems like Timber's been taunting the enemy more than I usually do. Whatever, good for him. I have somebody who might be able to give us a little bit more information on this.
Oh, do you?
Possibly. And Wiswick's gonna cast Sending, and he's gonna send a little message to Kalra, because that's his favorite person to talk to.
1 second.
Oh, it's old. I can't keep him engaged long enough.
I'm gonna have to like
referred me to Kalra for this exact reason, I'm sure.
Who's the big bad? Oh, his uncle?
Yeah, I called Uncle Owick old one time, and he can't let it go.
He's actually an old one, great old one.
Yeah. I mean, Weiswick proposed, Clayton proposed stories like that to me before. But anyway, you send a message to Kaura.
Yep.
What do you send?
Hey, Kaura. Quick questions. Ever heard of Velarians? Or the Kobold Hunters? Any news of my sister? Fizriambi Arwen Yelk Plopperus Derus Netherrock? 7. That is 7. Thanks! That's all I got. It's 25, trust me.
Okay. After a few seconds, you do get a response. I always have this instinct to like give people casting sending background noise like it's a phone, but it's all in the head, so there's no background noise.
Weiswick, how's it going? I'm just having a good time in Caradol, you know.
It's the winter solstice. No. You do hear in her voice though, like she is a little like it sounds like you caught her in the middle of like working on something. And like physical, like working on something physical and like repairing something even maybe. And she's just sort of like, oh, Weiswick. The Velarians are a old family. I don't know if you would look for them. They have a small estate in the Willowwick Promenade. It's just an old man and his son and their family. They've wasted away to nothing. Just the smallest family in Gardolan. You have given even a thought to them in the last 15 years. Oh yeah, and then you asked about your sister.
I also asked about the Kobold
real
Hunters.
quick, why are you asking about your sister? Because you blacked out when you asked her to look for your sister and don't remember that.
Because I was having hallucinogenic dreams about my
That's true.
family last night.
That's true.
Back and forth we go.
Okay. Oh wait, you also asked about the Kobold Hunters. I have not heard about the Kobold Hunters. As far as your sister goes, I've begun looking for her, like you asked. But it's hard to find us. Zef Neblin wandering the north. I'm sorry to say I don't have much new information for you. It's only been a couple of weeks. It's very difficult to find. If you could send me something or come back here to show me a likeness, I'm sure I could find her much quicker.
Weiswick just like when he hears the rest of this message, his face just goes red and nobody knows why. And he's just like, he doesn't respond. He's just like,
You know, when you called me the other night at 3 a.m.
It's like to the message and he says, sorry about that. Try your best. Goodbye. And then he quickly looks towards Kiran, and says, they've got a house in the Willowwick Promenade. She didn't know much. Nothing really important. I thought she'd have more. Sorry. I tried my best.
Everything okay, Weiswick?
Yeah, why wouldn't there be anything wrong? Everything's completely fine, sure.
You're talking faster than usual, and your face is beet red, I believe is the expression.
No, that's not me. I'm talking slowly, and my face is completely fine.
Kieran bends down, like crooked back, like just looking him in the eyes, and just goes, "Right. Well, we've dallied enough. Shall we away then?"
My sister left the Underdark, and I don't know where she is, and I'm freaking out.
What he said.
She's mad at me.
So, it's family.
Yeah, I'm still mad at you.
Sorry you
It's
have to
just-
see this, Kieran says to Katya.
This is very, very awkward. I feel like you all need to go somewhere and talk before we go. Maybe, you know, lay out some tension. Do you want a second?
It's
All right,
just,
great.
yeah.
No, it sounds like he wants a second. Go talk somewhere. I'll be at the tavern.
I drag Kieran
Bye.
out because I guess he's the only person who cares.
Yeah.
Now, what's going on with your sister, Wiswick?
Kind of a long story. I mean, when I was really young, she was always kind of like the boss around the town. Like, I would get into trouble and she would get me out of it, and she was always like the you know, the child that my parents always wanted, and I wasn't that. And she was like really sneaky and cool and stuff, and I always wanted to be like her, but you know, I may have done a few things and made some enemies back home, and when it was time for me to go, I didn't really have the best relationship with her, and we kind of left on a sour note, and you know, it just doesn't seem right. She doesn't really want to hear from me, but I'm still worried about her.
Well, then, how do you know that she's left the Underdark?
I don't know. I was drunk.
Oh, you got this
I literally
information.
just heard from Kalra that I told her that I was searching for my sister who left the Underdark.
Right. Maybe we stay away from the drink, though our new companion probably won't be helping in that area.
Nope.
This is a private session, please. The doctor is in. Where's my nickel? No. I'll say Kieran does this cool little flourish where he like crosses his legs and twirls around so that he's sitting cross-legged in front of Wiswick at this point, you know, almost eye to eye. And he goes, "If I may, a piece of advice, my friend.
Yes.
Just say what you want. Life is too short, especially for you. No offense. To hide the things that you want in life. You want to find your sister? You want to make sure she's okay? Send her a message. Send her a sending. By the Crescent Heart. Don't worry if she's mad at you. I have family that's mad at me right now. Labeling me a heretic, but they don't know any better. It's not their fault. And I'm sure it's the same with your sister. She doesn't know what you're doing. She doesn't understand what it's like to be you.
You know what, Kieran? I am offended, first of all. I know I have a short life, but you don't have to rub it in.
I wasn't rubbing it in.
And also, I think you don't understand. I need to do what I set out to do before I can see her again. It's just not gonna work out the way you think.
That's fair. And you're allowed to do what you think is right. I will remind you that the end of the world is coming, however. And while I understand you have your priorities, we also have a friend yet. We don't know exactly what's happening to her. Another friend that's still injured in Vermecia. And I'm sorry, did I mention the end of the world?
You also forgot to mention that one of our friends is turning into a monster, and the other one is purely with us because she wants money.
Right, yes. Kaze, we are working on that. We have our inside man on it. The Cobalt Huntress is serving her purpose. I think she will be a valuable ally in the fields of glass. And if I know these mercenary types, we just got plenty of gold to sate her thirst.
True, we are pretty loaded right now. I got a lot of new spells to learn.
And that'll keep you busy. And maybe as you learn those spells, you'll realize that you have something your sister doesn't. Actually, I don't know. I don't know your sister that well. I shouldn't say that. My apologies.
She's not a wizard like me. I have a lot of things that she doesn't. We got two very different specific skill sets.
Right. And each of you excel in what you do. And I think you'll find your similarities there.
I'd rather be able to show her. I'd rather be able to rub the fact that I discovered our ancient history in her face. You know what I mean? That definitely sounds way better than just like, saying, "Hey, I got pretty good at that magic thing that you always hated."
Huh? Or you can just tell her you're living your best life and hope she's doing the same. Pettiness does not look pretty in any person. And with that, Kieran does a reverse twist to stand up and goes, "If there's nothing else, my friend, you know you can always speak with me. But remember, I'm fucking lawful good." And he walks off.
It's like, yeah, I didn't expect
What
anything
a mic
less.
drop!
I like that. So, you all gather back at the cart where Katya, Timber, and Rosen and Gil and Oriel are getting everything ready, gearing up the horses. You see there are some new horses that Oriel has purchased because.
I got my horse. I have a horse.
Oh, you do have a horse. That's right. I forgot
That's
you have a
right.
horse. You do have your horse. Of course, you have your horse. Your horse was in that stable, the stables, this whole time. Remember?
Excellent. Yes.
So yeah, you're all set to embark. The wagons are out in the main square. You can see like Rosen and Gil are making sure the horses are comfortable moving through the water and keeping the wheels intact, and you can hop in if you're ready to go.
Y'all remember Mr. Ed?
Okay. You start to embark out of Nephrodala. And you can see there's some of those little tabaxi and dragonborn children start to chase the cart, kind of looking for that weird golem that was making funny faces at them. And you can even hear some of them shouting "Where's the stone man? Where's the stone man?" As they're chasing after it. You see some of the townsfolk will look to any of you who are, I guess that's actually a good question, who is on the carts and who's on horseback.
Horseback.
Do I even need to say it? Kieran rides abreast Kroko.
Wizwick's driving the cart, because I can do that now.
Fantastic.
And also, he doesn't have any 5th level spell slots, so he burns a 6th level spell slot to summon the golem again.
Aw.
Woof woof.
Or are you in a cart, or are you running walking alongside?
He's my support animal. He's next to me.
Who?
Shots fired.
Ouch. Ouch.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, you're drinking buddies more than anything else.
No, you insulted me.
Just pours booze down. You lap it up.
Actually, yes, that totally happens. That's 100% what happens.
You see a few people looking and shaking their head at you, Katya, as you pour booze down for a dog to drink.
It's not the normal
But
dog. It's fine.
slowly you start to make your way out of the southeastern pillars. You see all of those similar flags all up above that you saw when you first arrived, with all the different all the different cultures and families and whatnot, and visitors that represent Nephrodala. You slowly keep moving southeastern. Katya, you recognize some of the now fading core spawn remain, like bloody water in this area. Even though there was the Pale Covenant threat, there are still threats in this swamp as you move southward. So before we do any kind of perception checks for that, as you get through the last edge of the swamp, we're going to take a quick break. Take a 5-minute break, folks. We will be back shortly. Stick around with us as our heroes finally make their way to the Fields of Glass.
Wow.
We'll be back very soon.
We'll see.
Very soon. We'll be back very soon. Welcome back, everybody, to Advantage in Paradise. Our heroes are returning we are returning to our heroes from our break. They are just leaving. That was so weird. They're just leaving Nephrodala.
Breathe it out. Breathe it out.
They are leaving Nephrodala to head towards the Fields of Glass to find the oases with the Tabaxi Crescent Heart worshipper that Kieran has seen in his visions. They are on the road in the swamplands still, heading towards these wastelands. I believe that there are some items that Timber would like Wisbek to identify real quick.
Sure. Yeah, Rich will cast it. So it's going to take a little bit.
Identify.
These are candles, in this case, of the deep. The flame of this candle is not extinguished when immersed in water. That's it. There is the cleansing stone. Cleans. It removes it creates a sphere 1 foot in diameter. When touching the stone, you can use an action to activate it and remove dirt and grime from your garments or into your person. And I'm going to extend that to you. Essentially, you can just clean anything with it. It's a prestidigitation stone, essentially. And it is a cloak of many fashions. While wearing this cloak, you can use a bonus action to change the style, color, and apparent quality of the garment. The weight of it doesn't change, regardless of its appearance. The cloak can't be anything but a cloak. Although it can duplicate the appearance of other magic cloaks, it doesn't give their magical properties. So essentially a cloak that you can make look however you want. Best magical cloak. Okay. Wiswick, I imagine you're going to take your short rest now while the cart is driving.
That would be great, so I can get my arcane recovery to get that 6th level spell slot back.
Absolutely. All right, so while you're in the last legs of the swamp, whoever is out on their horses who would like to make a perception check may do so now.
I'm listening with my giant fucking ears.
Okay, you get advantage.
I think the moon will guide my eyes on this roll.
Ooh, thank goodness I have advantage. Oh, that shit. Shit rolls. 11.
28. Yeah. Thank you.
With an 11? Oh.
Yeah, I rolled a 3 and a 4.
Katya.
Yes.
I'm
not a very good monster hunter right now.
Perhaps it's the
it's the booze.
It's not the booze. It's more so the whipping winds right now, because you're getting the snowstorm is intensifying around you all. It's reached the time of year that the south is starting to get hit with some of the winter effects of the long dark. I'd say the best you can get with that perception check is there seems to be little to no animal presence around. You're uncertain if this is due to the weather or not, but there is a severe lack of any kind of typical mundane wildlife of the swamps that you're used to. There's none of the leeches that you're used to seeing. There's none of the salt rock insects. None of the typical mammalian life around here. It's just dead quiet, other than the wind.
And that would be weird to me, right?
Yes. There's only really one or two things you've experienced that cause this.
Am I having trouble remembering what those are? because it's so windy?
No, you would know. Like Katya would know what this is. Correspond presence. Seems like the harrowing of the Pale Covenant, and like the resources dedicated towards that, has taken away from the resources dedicated towards clearing out Correspond. And they are somewhat flourishing this far south. Kiran, with a 28, you would see what Katya could not hear, which are up above in the trees watching all of you, are not the spiders of the northeast, but these other creatures. You saw one when you were entering Nephrodala, these Correspond. They have these insect-like carapace over flesh that looks like it is actively bleeding. It looks like a flayed worm, essentially, with these two arm mandibles that it uses to pull itself through the trees. You would actually like notice here and there like a drop of the Correspond blood or ichor dropping into the water and inking up. You might even have like watched some of it drop onto your hand and look at it as there appears to be a few of them crawling up in the trees above you.
We have company, Kiran says, motioning above in the trees, and goes, Cobalt Huntress, do you know what these creatures are?
Absolutely, I do. I'm whispering. They're Correspond. They're nasty to fight. I suggest that we try, if they haven't already seen us, I suggest we try to sneak by them because they suck. Yay!
Also, Wiswick casts. Oh, okay. Wiswick's going to ritual cast Telepathic Bond,
Ooh, okay.
which will allow us all to speak telepathically with one another for 1 hour.
This is Clayton giving Alex the middle finger for getting those sending stones. That's fair.
What's this
Kiran
called,
is-
Wiswick?
It is called Telepathic Bond.
Thank you.
Continue to speak with Katya. Kiran will
Who?
go,
Katya. Not Katya.
Katya.
Katya!
Ah.
Ah!
Anyway, go what?
The Correspond.
Yes.
Do they have any weaknesses? Any
Oh,
advantageous
oh
fighting
dear.
styles to use against them?
No. Been a while since I fought them. Not really. I've just had a lot
It's
of
actually
reasons to
been
fought them.
it's actually
Yes.
been like 3 days since
I
you
know.
fought them.
I drank a lot since then. What do I remember about fighting these guys?
The number one thing is to not be surrounded by them because they swarm, and to try to avoid the larger advanced versions of them. They're all blind and only have blind sight, and tremor sense. So if you can get outside of their range of sense, they completely cannot detect you in any form. Yeah, I mean, they don't have like fire doesn't hurt them worse or anything like that. You would know that they obviously being blind, you can't use blinding effects. They are particularly resistant to psychic-based magic. And just the more of them that are together, the harsher it is. And if they're left unchecked, there's always a risk that they will evolve to much more devastating and intelligent forms. But as long as they're just these crawlers, they can typically be dealt with pretty easily. You did fight one of their they call them emissaries, which are those more humanoid-looking ones that fly and float. Those ones can be very dangerous because they have a while they themselves are not particularly hardy, They just have really devastating effects.
I
You've never
remember.
you never fought one, but
Okay.
there is 2 other forms that they take
Mm-hmm.
that you know about.
Okay.
That essentially they have like the emissary form. The crawlers can evolve into one of 3 things: an emissary, a seer, or a worm. The seers are the most intelligent forms and can cast magic. The worms are essentially if you took the crawler and made it gargantuan. These all evolved from the crawler. The emissary is like the foot soldiers of them. They can fly. They've got these kind of like serrated claws that look like what do you call them? Praying mantis? Scythes, thank you. And yeah, the emissaries usually are in charge of packs of the crawlers that pile up flesh of the animals they've killed so that it can rot a little bit, and then they like to eat the rotted flesh.
Disgusting.
And their blood in the water is particularly corrosive if you have any wounds on like your legs or something, and you walk through any of the murky blood red water, you can get quite sick.
Okay, so don't walk through blood.
Right now, Curon, you're really only seeing a couple of these small crawlers up in the trees. Probably, not exactly, I wouldn't call them scouts. They're probably just looking for whatever's left that they haven't already killed in here. The surefire sign of their presence and that there's potential burrows and hives nearby is if there's just like no other animals at all. They are the worst kinds of predators. They destroy ecosystems, kill every animal they can, anything they can, and then move on.
I relay all of that information to Kieran. Like I said, they suck, so we should try really hard not to make a lot of noise and try to move as little as possible, or as lightly as possible.
Wiswick telepathically messages. I don't know if it's time for that yet.
Time for what?
It takes
Turbo
10
time.
minutes to do telepathic messaging. Telepathic bond. So I guess I'll wait a little bit.
Give me stealth checks.
Plus 10. Oh, Kieran. Back to this shit.
I haven't even put on the plate armor yet.
You haven't?
Well, it won't
the
make
rest
much of
of
a
us are
difference,
pretty
it
good.
seems.
Nope.
Yeah. Okay. What did everyone get?
30.
29.
15.
Okay. It's not necessarily all Curon's fault.
Dang it, Guild and Rose.
They both rolled natural ones.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Ooh.
Yeah, right. Rosen is like really taking the horses slow and trying to be very careful, and you can hear Gildan up ahead being like, "Faster, faster! There's magic. The magic." And you see the horses are just like bumping up against the cart, and just like generally the carts are making a lot of noise, more so even than Curon, because 15's not too bad.
Yeah.
What did I just say? Stop talking.
It's sensible. Shut up. Shut up.
This looks ritual casting as fast as he can.
As you would see, the crawlers are starting to be alert. They're starting to sense the disruptions of the cart with their tremor senses. Katya, you hear a familiar sound coming out of one of them. That sort of cawing noise, the bristling of their arms together, and it's just kind of like a purring mixed with a. And you can hear that echoing out across the waters.
Huron turns and fires a guiding bolt 120 feet behind us on the path.
Excellent. So, Huron, you aim back. The bolt flings out, and you see it. Are you aiming for the road or a tree or something like that, just to hit something?
Yes.
Okay, as far away from you all as you can.
Yes, at the extent of its range, 120 feet.
Excellent. All right, so you all watch this bolt arc through the tree line and smash into a mangrove tree on one of these swamp caps. And just sort of like this big singe goes into it, and this loud echoing clamor goes through as you hear in the water over there, like the sounds of dozens of these things all rushing over to where that guiding bolt hits. And you can, if anyone's looking back, would see they're crawling all over this tree now, ripping and pulling themselves up and just sort of like looking for whatever caused this ruckus. As you can see, the ones above you right now are distracted by that sound, and you can see them pulling and leaping from tree to tree, branch trying to get over there. You can even see like some of them just like plop down and fall directly into the water and start swimming through it, leaving behind that gross ichor, red ichor. But as far as you can tell right now, nothing, everything is distracted that you can see.
Keep going. But same thing.
Another round of stealth checks, and then anyone who wants to make a perception check as well can. The perception check will be at disadvantage because you are stealthing.
Except mine will be a straight roll because of my giant ears.
Yes.
Not to brag.
Not great, but better from Rose and Bill.
Much better for Q.
All right, what everyone get?
29.
Or stealth.
29.
Okay.
26.
Nice.
21.
Nice. Okay. Perception checks now.
15.
15, 9,
14.
Didn't roll.
14.
I'm casting.
For some reason, I thought you said 42. I was like, excuse me?
You're excused.
Thanks. Katya. Yes. Katya, you would hear it first, before anyone else sees it. You would hear the buzzing of an emissary's wings nearby. You'd be able to tell the direction, because it is within a certain number of feet. It is on the eastern side of the road, on your left. You've made it much further along, so you're pretty far from all the correspond hordes that went after the tree. But you know you're probably closer to the actual hive now if you're hearing the emissary's wings. As far as you can tell right now, though, nothing is coming closer. You don't hear any other correspond, although you know they can be within their underwater burrows. But there's no disturbances or anything coming closer. So, as far as you know, you're safe for now.
If I was to halt everybody and then just so we're just still, then I'd want to listen and to hear if the wings go away, like go farther away.
If everyone's fine with staying still for a moment, Katya, you'll get your advantage back. Okay. Go ahead.
What about my eyes?
You can also look.
23.
23?
Yeah, her.
Yeah. What did you get, Kieran? Sorry.
18.
18. Okay. Katya, you can tell that there are emissary patrols. They are about 80 feet to your left. They are not moving closer. They do seem to be moving further away, but not like they're leaving. Like probably 80 feet from here is a heap, if you recall what the heaps are. That this emissary is probably just sort of tending to.
Okay.
Kieran, with an 18, you can't see the emissary and heap because there's just too many trees in the way. I'd say you do hear it, though. You hear the faint... Katya, you have a better understanding of where it is, but you could definitely hear the buzzing of wings, large wings, Kieran. With that 18, though, you would notice that all the water in this area is murky red, which means you're in the heart of their territory.
Ooh.
Is that telepathic bond?
Yeah, I'd say at this point, yes, it does go off.
Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Can you all hear me?
Do any of you have any means of not touching the ground and floating? Okay.
Is it
I've got
dim?
I've got a rock golem.
Is it dim light or dark?
Dim.
Cool. Yes, I can also.
Right.
For a minute.
Is there no way to... I don't use magic, so I don't know how this works, but the lifting the carts so that they don't make noise, or is that just too much?
Will the undead horse be fine?
Kieran looks back at it for a moment, Querna, and goes, if we need a distraction. I feel like the one undead horse is probably enough. If
Trust me,
need be.
you do not want to engage. So I think anybody that can levitate should.
Well, the horses will still all,
Yes.
which is, I think, the primary issue here.
Yes.
Yeah, you would definitely can tell the bigger issue here is that you have the cart and horses. Because the horses can't really stealth. They can go slow, and that's quieter. And the carts, you can't... I mean, the Pass Without a Trace is doing quite a lot of heavy lifting for your animals and carts. Like, the only reason there's any chance of them not catching you immediately upon entering here is because of the Pass Without a Trace, which is muting some of their tremoring.
Is there snow on the ground?
It is, the snow is starting to accumulate.
Is that making crunching noises? Is that making it harder?
It's kind of like you're trading the slop for a little bit of crunching with the slop. It's not. I would say it's not like worse than necessarily. I'll say one thing is the snow is making it easier to spot where the core spawn are moving because they leave the trail of blood.
Okay.
Could I've been meaning to do this for a long time, but is it possible to have had Wiswick give Katya retroactively the decanter of Endless Frost last night?
Yeah, I would have allowed
And Drunken
that.
Haze.
And Drunken Haze being like, look at this, look at all this snow.
So
Yeah,
much
no,
snow.
you could definitely have given her the decanter of Endless Frost. So Shannon, that's an actual item in D&D Beyond, so you can
Cool.
look that up.
Okay. Now tell me if this would work or not. if I could use my spear to use shape water to kind of like create like a quieter path for us through as we're going, or if that would
I
Like
don't think
Moses?
I mean you could like shape water is not quite that powerful as a cantrip. So like you could disrupt the flow of water. So I guess you could like try to extract water, I guess, from it, but like the sounds that the wagons are making is the sounds of wheels slick through wet mud and
Okay.
snow. It's not exactly something that you can completely eliminate with shape water. I mean, I guess you could freeze the water, but it's gonna make it like slippery for the
that was my next
cartwheels.
thought, but I don't. I think that's gonna make it worse. All right, we're just going to have to go slow.
Okay. So for the next leg of the journey, you can do another round of stealth checks.
Oh boy.
Bayazura, Bayazura, Bayazura.
If you know that this is kind of like the most dangerous part of this, and if you can make it past this, you'll be in a lot better shape. So do whatever you need to do that. What did everyone get?
25.
25. Okay.
23 for me.
Okay. Pretty good. Pretty good.
That's pretty good for you.
Wiswick got a 31 and the golem got a 24.
Nice.
Get up,
Rose-
Rosen and Gil.
Rosen got a 28.
Excellent.
Wow.
Gil got a natural 1.
Fucking Gil.
Fucking Gil.
Huh? Oh, but the rest of us did really well, so that kind of evens it
Yes.
out, right?
So it's an 11 total with the with all of that jazz.
All that jazz.
I'd say this is what happens. Start to move through, and Gil is in the back, essentially driving with Oriel. Everything's going really well, quietly, going very slow, and there's just a point when it's not so much that Gil like overworks the horses or goes too fast. It's just like the wheel just in a little sinkhole in the water.
As soon as I hear that, I motion for everybody to stop and just stay still.
Okay. Is there anything else anyone would like to do in this moment? Okay, go for it. No, you don't. Unless you're trying to hit something specific. Which I think you're fine. There's enough trees here that it's going to hit something. Okay, so you fire the arrow off. There is kind of like the initial sound of you firing the arrow off, but thankfully the pass without a trace is somewhat muting that. As the arrow flings off, you can see it kind of like bursts into that shadow arrow and then like hits directly into a tree. Near your full range, not exactly your full range. And you can see kind of like there's this sort of burst of shadowy energy. It's not as loud as the guiding bolt, but it definitely does create some distraction, as you can again see that anyone who can see, probably Curon, Maybe Katya and Timber, since you were looking where you shot, would see like the water just ripples. Like if you ever seen like a piranha feeding frenzy, as they all climb up onto the tree and start to investigate around it, almost like the tree becomes this like almost dirty red color as they're dragging their worm tails onto it, and that ichor is covering it. And you can see kind of like the steam coming off of it. It seems right now to have distracted them. If anyone would like to make perception checks to see like what the status is of your current position.
Yeah, I'll listen.
22.
21.
Music rolled an 18.
Okay. Timber, did you roll? Nice. Okay. Katya, you can hear that buzzing of the wings, which is now actually a little bit further back. The buzzing of the wings is heading... It's hard to tell because you're now hearing multiple wings. It sounds like most of those wings are now heading towards where Kaze just shot that arrow. But at least one set of wings is heading towards you all. It's probably about 120 feet away. Huron, you also hear this. And you can see some like movement of water, probably about 60 feet away from you all, where some of these crawlers were not necessarily, it's not that they weren't fooled by the arrow, it's that they heard some sounds near you, so they're sticking around, and in their small minds it's kind of like, well, I'll get whatever's here while they all go fuck off over there. So there's some stragglers who are still close to you guys, and there's at least one emissary heading towards you all.
Huron swings out his staff to smack Querna in the rear and goes, "Serve your goddess well." And he's going to will the horse to turn around and run backwards.
Excellent. So, in that moment, exactly that happens. Querna immediately listens to Huron and starts to turn around and then starts a full gallop backwards. Now, this gallop does start still close to you all. What are you all doing now? Are you just going to start moving?
Slowly again.
Because I will say you are at the very least past the heart of their nests.
Mm-hmm.
So you could go fast right now and run the risk of being chased by a few of them, but getting out faster, or you can go slow and steady as you've been doing.
Slow and steady.
Okay. Give me stealth checks again. This time with advantage because Querna is distracting them.
Huron will take a moment to watch as he slowly leads Kuroko to the ultimate demise of this random horse whose story he never fully understood.
Yeah. You serve the goddess of necromancy.
Right.
But what are your scores?
31.
Jesus.
25.
I got 23 and 25.
Thank God for those pass without traces.
Mhm.
Let me see. Actually, let me check the emissary stats. What was their perception? Okay, yeah. The pass without trace did save you there. You immediately you all start to get away, and Huron, you might kind of remain backwards watching as you see Querna galloping through, and about maybe like 60 feet back as she continues, you see leaping from the waters is about, from your count, anywhere between 6 to 8 core spawn crawlers that all latch onto, kind of like the way like a pack of wolves will latch onto the back of a bison and start to pull it down. Querna immediately is kind of pulled to the ground. As you can see, blood being kind of, it's a horrible sight. Like the way they feed is quite disgusting. Except they're not even actually feeding here. They're just literally like kind of like chewing off the exterior of the horse and ripping off like the useless leather saddle and whatnot. And you can see moving really fast, and kind of you can see water and snow displaced this emissary just is hovering above now, and like the core spawn all are kind of growling at it and then like disperse away from Querna's corpse at this point, as this creature just takes its big scythe-like hands and stabs down into the horse's abdomen and lifts it up, and carries it and just flies it off. You would know, Katya, that it's taking the corpse to a heap to add to the pile.
Mm-hmm.
R.I.P. Querna.
But Querna's sacrifice does save you from having to fight any of these core spawn in those final stages, as you start to see there's less and less water as you continue on. The snow is still falling, although it is starting to become less and less as the landscape begins to dry out more. And you find yourself in an incline going up. And eventually there's sparser and sparser trees. More rock. The above is clearing out as you're beginning to leave the Nephrodolian swamps. You successfully make it out of the core spawn territories. It took you probably it took you at least an hour to get through the actual core spawn territory, and then after that it was much smoother sailing through the last hour of the swamp. Ahead of you now is, Katya, you would know, essentially a day's journey to the Gap of Glass.
Well, that was intense.
Keep your ears out, just in case, but we should be safe. They like the water, and the trees give them a lot of cover for their disgusting heaps.
Vile
But
creatures.
Now you know. Now you know how to avoid the core spawn and all of their forms.
Yes, make sure you have a legendary monk such as our Kazai here to cast his shadow magics.
Is there
And-
any concern for the people we just left behind in the swamp? Are they going to be okay with all those core spawn, growing in there?
They'll be okay for now, but the sooner we complete this, the sooner I can get back and start working on that nest.
Katya, give me a quick survival guide for the Badlands you're about to enter and what sort of dangers there are there. I'll give you advantage on this also, because like right now, essentially the landscape is drying out, and you are heading into. You're starting to see the mountains kind of coming together, and the mountains have kind of like this red stone coloring to them. The landscape is starting to get a little more red and orange. The snow is starting to completely dissipate as all moisture is starting to leave the entirety of this space. It's not getting a lot hotter necessarily because of how deep you are into winter, but there's no moisture, so there's just no possibility of snow in this area really, other than light flurries here and there. There are less and less trees and more short, thorny shrubbery. So there's not as much cover. And you're essentially making your way up a small mountainside to then go through this gorge to then descend down into the fields of glass, and that is the gap of glass.
So, did we already go? Did we already pick a path?
No, you're not in the fields of glass yet. The path starts at the fields of glass.
Gotcha.
So essentially, you go up through the gorge,
Yep.
through the gap of glass, and then that's when the road splits off.
Got it. Okay, cool. Here comes the survival checks. 18.
You know that this territory is still dangerous, but not as dangerous as being in the heart of a correspondence nest. There are high levels of wyverns in this gap.
Of course, there
that come down. They're all wyverns are copper because it's what I've got. They come down from the mountains to actually, weirdly enough, hunt core spawn that venture too far out into the open, as well as any kind of foolish livestock style animal that get caught in the thorny brambles of this area. They're definitely carrion feeders also, so they definitely will come and eat anything that's kind of died on the side of the road. But they come down from the mountains often.
As we're, leaving the swamp, I'll, relay that to the group and just say, we left the core spawn in the swamp, but now we have to keep our eyes to the skies. Wyverns like to fly around here. Stealth will always be helpful in these lands. So yes, I think that is what we should do.
Do you have another pass without trace you can do? Excellent. Sure. Yeah, so it's hard to stealth in this region. Really, the only reason you can really stealth is because of the pass without a trace, because it is short shrubbery, badlands, open area. The wyverns hunt here for that exact reason. You are starting to see like this area was once probably where the road itself was probably a large tributary or river of the sea, because you can see the salt flat aspect is starting to begin, and there is a lot of salt clinging to not as much as in the swamp, in the salt marshes, or probably what you'll see in the actual fields of glass. But there's still remnants of whatever was once here, and you can see the eroded land, and where the road has been built was once probably a stream or river, and it is kind of a ditch a little bit, which actually can be a little bit helpful with the stealthing. So everyone go ahead and give me another stealth check, and if you'd like, perception checks with disadvantage if you're stealthing.
You still have pass without a trace, right?
Yeah, he cast it again.
Okay, good.
Okay, what do we get?
28.
Okay. Nice.
18 and a 19.
22 for Kieran for stealth.
Nice.
To avoid the wyvern mini again, guys.
Don't worry, you got polymorph. Did you prepare polymorph?
It doesn't matter. I have the thing that lets me pick one spell that what's called.
Yeah. Freaking Wizard of Lore. I'd say anyone who wants to do perception checks can, but you guys are pretty freaking stealth right now, and you have a better. The carts do a lot better here because if it's not tremor sense they're stealthing against, it's above. So the pass without a trace, I imagine, is just kind of concealing them a bit, blending them in with the shrubbery.
I
had a 13 for perception.
Okay.
22.
Kieran, you definitely see there are shapes in the distance of wyverns circling. They don't seem to be seeing you though. The pass without a trace is doing its job. The carts are doing fine. If anything, it's more so it's starting to get a little hotter in this space. But as the sun starts to set, it gets very cold. The wyverns can't really hunt you at night. They don't really come down at night. They're not Ghost of Ruination wyverns that hunt at night. They are Badland hybrid wyverns. So once the sun sets, you feel a lot safer in this particular area, Katya. You can go a little bit further, but it's going to take a little bit of the next morning to get to the actual Gap of Glass. So you'll probably want to camp out.
Yes, I think we should set up camp here. It's much safer at night. The wyverns can't see.
Whatever you think is best.
Is there a problem with the fire?
Is there a problem with the fire?
Give me a survival check.
$15.
In this area at night, a fire is actually probably going to keep animals away. In this area, they're not honestly like the wyverns are the most dangerous thing in this area.
Mhm.
Everything else, probably the second most dangerous thing next to the wyverns are the insects. That as long as you keep a scorpion out of your boot, you're fine.
There's a
But
snake
the
in my
wyverns
boot.
won't see the.
The wyverns might see the fire, but they don't typically pursue the fire. Like they don't hunt at night, essentially.
Okay. Alright.
They're not nocturnal.
All right. So, no, a fire would be fine. Not too big, but we can make one.
The temperatures get down to the negatives once the sun sets.
The fire.
It's probably at this point around -2 or 3 degrees out, and it's
Celsius or
a
Fahrenheit?
Fahrenheit. It's -20 or so in Celsius. And you do you want to do the Illyvania's tiny hut?
Yes, most certainly.
Okay. So the tiny hut will protect you from the bitter cold. The fire, if anyone wants to stay outside for their watch, will also keep you somewhat warm. Not as lovely as the Illyvania's tiny hut.
I will take first watch. Unless. No, maybe I should take last watch when it starts to get light.
First watch.
Okay.
I can take the
You can.
second half. Well, because usually I transfer 4 hours and then the last 4 hours I'm up, so.
Okay. All right. Great. Is there anything anyone would like to do during the evening as you're resting, eating, whatever, or you just want to move on?
Kieran will start reading the Legendarium of God Drakes.
Excellent. Any other reading going on, or anything else?
I think Wiswick would probably look over his shoulder and read near the campfire. It would be the sort of thing where the golem is sitting next to the campfire as a windbreaker, and it's got one hand raised above Kieran's head, and Wiswick's just laying on that hand, looking down over his shoulder to the book.
That's actually such an
That's so
awesome image.
cute.
And Kieran is definitely holding the book up higher after taking some of his potion.
I love that.
Yes. Because the winds are probably the worst thing about this space. Because it's like they blow gritty sand into your face essentially, and salt. So you just feel dried out, like you're uncomfortable. Excellent. All right, so Wiswick, you're going to take first watch. Go ahead and give me a perception check.
Okay.
Or the golem can, whichever you prefer. Or
I was
both.
gonna say the golem's garbage and I'm garbage, so Jet is going to take the advantage of being able to hear
So you're
things.
gonna summon a new jet?
Can I even summon a new jet? I don't think I can.
I think you have some incense left.
What happened to the last dead? I think I didn't kill. I think I had one jet left.
You can ask
Did
Kieran
anybody
for
remember
incense.
jet?
Oh, wait.
No, I
No,
did not.
the last time someone asked you if you could do a jet, you said jets are expensive.
Yes.
So you don't have jet right now.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna use the regular old perception check. Maybe it's time for Jet to take a break.
Jet's on vacation.
You know,
Okay.
I have Lucky now. Maybe I don't need Jet.
Lucky.
That's
I rolled a 10. I'm gonna use a luck point.
Okay.
I got an 18. Hell yeah.
18, all right. Within this space, there's not a lot of danger. What I will say is you kind of like look past towards the horizon to the southeast, and you can see there is like these. They're kind of like Aurora Borealis, but instead of that kind of turquoise and green color, it is violets and indigos, and even some kind of like somewhat silvery, or beyond the horizon towards the direction you know the gap of glass is. And they hover above just enough so you can see them. They are up in the sky. This area is this in-between zone. There's not a lot of life here. Anything that is, you might occasionally see some little critters kind of coming up close to the camp, and you see this little creature that is kind of like a weasel, but it has a long like anteater snout. And it has these like not fronds, but like sort of almost like feathers on their back that are just sort of quilling up like a porcupine, as it is like scrounging for any scraps, like any food you all threw around near your camp. And as you look at it, you see past it, and you see a bunch of glowing eyes in the distance, like 12 of them that are probably the rest of its little pack. As this little scout is coming forward looking for scraps amongst your camp.
I have the golem like kick its foot in that direction just to try and like shoo it off.
Excellent. You see like a bunch of dust and salt gets kicked up into this little mammal's face. As you can see, that kind of like long anteater face just sort of like shakes wildly as it gets salt up in its nose, and you hear this loud, like, sounds like a cat screeching as it runs off. And you see all of those eyes simultaneously close, and then they all run off into the distance, all making loud noises before disappearing like behind shrubs. 10 minutes later, their eyes all pop back open from the shrubs as you see a new one, smaller than the last one, start sneaking up on the camp.
I think Wiswick just doesn't care at this point. Like, he tried his best. Maybe, he'd probably find a little bit of interest in it. Like, he knows that his job is mostly, like, keeping an eye out for danger. But every once in a while, he can't help but, like, go back to his old habits of, like, doodling in his notebook.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he's not very good at drawing creatures. He's more of a landscapes type guy. So he'll probably, like, He was drawing the Aurora Borealis effect that he sees in the horizon, and then he like near the ground at the bottom, he just like makes a quick little doodle of one of the creatures as it like gets closer.
Oh yeah, if you don't scare them off for the rest of your watch, like the whole pack comes into the camp. They obviously can't get into the bubble, but they are like around you, and they start to like climb on the golem, and you can see some of them like hanging from the golem. You can notice now that they're like raccoons in the sense they have thumbs and they can climb and they can hang. You see one kind of plops down in front of you, and you can see it grabs these feather fronds off its back, kind of pulls them around in front. The way these feathers are, they're like a long quill, and then like a tuft of bright red strands that kind of look like wheat, like the caps of wheat. And you can see its pulls it across, and it starts to just sort of like, as you notice, it has like the bugs have gotten caught in the red fronds, and it's just slowly eating them in front of you, and just like staring directly at you. As 12 others just start to hang and climb all over the golem. One gets into your bag at one point and starts trying to pull things out of it.
That one I'm going to electric shock.
As soon as you electric shock that one, they all, again, with the screeching cat noise, scurry off into the darkness. 10 minutes later, eyes pop open in the distance. But it seems like a lot of the mammalian life here is nocturnal because they know the wyverns don't hunt at night.
A little too curious for their own good.
They're used to all the threats being from above, so they're very overly confident about land creatures. But your watch ends with just really these creatures being the main focus of the evening, as Timber wakes up. It's your watch. Okay. For a second, I was like, what? I guess you'd wake up, and if you walked out, you would see, at this point, maybe a little bit later, some of these critters are now kind of climbing all over the golem again. They all stay the hell away from Wiswick's bag.
Yeah, these little critters, they're harmless. A little curious, but just leave them alone and they won't bother you. Although they are kind of loud if you piss them off.
You hear immediately just sort of like a mewling noise of just like as it just sort of falls off the golem and tumbles down and lands and just sort of plops down and kind of like rolls over itself, like if you've ever seen a fat raccoon fall out of a trash can, and then just sort of like and it kind of grabs its feather fronds, not to eat off of them, but like almost like out of comfort.
Yeah, well, it's your turn for watch. So I mean, if you want to stay in the hut, just be quiet, I guess. I'm going in. And as Wiswick goes to go off to bed, the golem deactivates, and it's just like a mound of rock now.
Now that the golem is not active, the little creatures all kind of clamber onto it and start to find little cracks and hollows in it to hide in. Timber, you would find one kind of leaps onto your thigh, kind of starts climbing up your back, and you feel it with its little raccoon hands picking through your fur, and you can feel it pulling a part of your fur that was a little itchy the last few days. It's starting to eat fleas off of you.
Ew.
Yeah. Generally throughout the night, this is going to be the most activity that happens, are these little anteater creatures. So if you want, you can just meditate for your watch. You would also notice the kind of aurora borealis in the distance above the gap of glass, but there's no dangers in the distance. And eventually, Kiran would awake for his watch.
Yeah, he would. Coming out of the bubble and having it deactivate behind him.
Unless you cast it, you can use a higher level spell slot too.
Nope.
Keep it. Okay. Katya, you're fine inside. Yeah, Oriel is immediately like, oh, fuck. It's like when you open the door, or when you were a kid and they opened the door on the bus.
Yeah.
Cold
the
air in the winter
worst.
came in.
Yeah.
Um,
Shut the
Sorry.
Oh.
We're about to enter dangerous territory. I need all my spell slots. Jose?
Yeah, they are like you haven't had a bath in a while, Timber. So you haven't really been able to groom in a while. So they're just like kind of crawling all over Timber. The ones who aren't are all sitting on what was formerly the golem. And you can see like they're like grabbing their fronds and eating bugs off of it. As you see, Timber has made friends with a dozen of these salt flat weasels. It's just purring like a cat. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
This is this campaign's Kevin.
This whole pack of these
Yeah,
creatures.
I would be shocked if you didn't.
Okay.
So Kieran goes to check on the horses, see how Zuroko's doing. And then he'll walk a short distance away to like do like a perimeter check. As you recall, an old friend doing some time ago. And as he does this, he's going to take the amulet of Ermog around his neck and do his daily commune with her.
Excellent. Okay. So as you're walking around, when you go to the horses, you find that you probably need to give them a little extra water while you're in these spaces. There are a lot of insects out at night. Even though it is quite cold, like I've said before, like in these harsh regions, there are these insects that have evolved to live through the long dark. Seems like they're the primary prey of these pack weasels. So they get stuck in their flower fronds. But you can, while you're doing this, commune with Armagh. And once you kind of feel like generally you're pretty safe, and you can attend to other things.
Right. Seeing how calm Kaze was, Kieran would have been very at ease just upon the start of his thing. But so he activates the amulet, reaching out to the essence of Armagh, and goes, "Greetings, oh white raven sister. I come with questions again. Do you know how to beat the Harbinger?"
You see the face once again animates the marble face on the amulet. No. There's only running. Escape.
Do you know how to beat the Pallid King?
Rip out his heart.
For his final question, Kieran goes, "Are you a coward, O Raven of War, to run from the Harbinger?"
Sisters might die to their final. My sisters might fight to their final drop of blood. Waters the battlefield. Bowed ferocity will bring her demise. Marigna's taste for flesh will bring about death. I will live to see the next battle. I will run until I can fight. Who are you?
I don't know if that's how the commune spell works.
And the face becomes solid again.
And as it's doing that, Kiran gently whispers, I'm a faithful servant of Iluvania, cleric of Twilight. As it's transforming, so maybe she hears it, maybe she doesn't.
I'll say yes.
Oh,
Potentially.
I mean,
She just hears, I'm...
no, open the channel.
Open up again, you stupid... Start hitting it against a rock. Okay. Yeah, you get up on one of these bluffs and you're just holding up a metal wire. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to do during these 2 hours?
Watch.
The auroras are beautiful. And these creatures all cuddle up with Timber. Even the ones who are on the golem, what's left, all crawl over and cover Timber. He just looks, he's in meditation pose, just sitting there as they're like, some on his shoulder, one is on his head, and you can see, like, if you've ever seen like a kitten try to stay on someone's like shoulder or head, like the paws are going down before it circles down and curls up, and he's currently covered in 12 of these salt flat weasels.
Nice. Kieran sits opposite him and reads of the legendarium of Godrakes.
Okay. Shortly after that, Katya would wake up for the final watch. Katya, you would see a shivering Oriel who has slowly pulled himself closer to the waning fire and covered in blankets. Actually, no, that's not true. Oriel's in the cart. He immediately, as soon as the bubble closed, went to the carts. But you would see Timber covered in salt flat weasels, which you've seen before, actually. You would have seen these before. You know they're incredibly friendly and bold and brave with humanoids. And you've seen far too many of them absolutely slaughtered by wyverns when passing through here. But Huron would be awake and would be awake through your watch. Is there anything the two of you'd like to do, or would you just like to watch quietly?
I'll just kind of like smile at the
Salt flat
pile
weasels.
of the salt flat weasels and kind of just say, "Oh, that's adorable. They're very friendly, though.
They seem like quite the interesting creatures.
They are. They don't last very long out here, unfortunately, but hopefully these ones do.
The circle of
Anything
life.
Anything interesting?
No, the auroras to the south are quite majestic.
Aren't
They rival those of the Simvosi peaks in the north.
They are beautiful.
Interesting. The two ends of the earth. Some of the most beautiful places, and yet all the humans live nestled between.
It's interesting. I wonder why.
I think the humans are simple folk in the end, simply existing where it's most convenient and easy. You see the lands that they farm in Tressix and The might of Oxland with its... Oxland's got all the iron, right? With all their iron. And you can see why they settled there. You go to the north or the south, it's harsher, but more unique breeds blossom there.
Suppose everyone has their preference, as Katya will reach in to take out the bottle that she found and then kind of look at Kieran and then sigh, put it back.
Kieran, a small smile crosses his face as he continues to look at the book.
Katya, you would know of only one group of humans that don't live in the Quintarchy. The Gosu remnant, who live to the southwest of here, all the way down in the southwest coast of Glenvalir. The ancestors of those who used to live in the Gosu ruination. Don't have to say anything about it, but you know about them.
Little light bulb goes off. Are you close to fulfilling whatever it is you wanted to fulfill?
Well, I won't know until I finish this errand for my goddess, but I hope after this and returning to my homeland to find the last shard of Crescent Heart, will be that much closer to bringing her back to help us fight against the dark tides coming.
I hope you do.
And in between, we must deal with our friend Kaze there. Kieran says, nodding towards Timber in his bed of anteater creatures. Exactly.
Oh. Weasel blanket.
We must deal with Kaze's possession by a corrupted god of the Feywild. Then we must rescue our companion Scarlet. She still has a twin brother that's a maniacal, evil individual. And of course, there's our nemesis, might be a good word for him, General of Oxland, that may or may not have started much of this. And of course, above them is the Pallid King that's consuming the Feywild. And then there's the Harbinger that rules Carcery in the stead of the Wayward One. And so many things to do, so little time.
It is a lot of information.
Had we not mentioned that previously, I apologize.
Did you tell me Scarlett's name when you told Katya that your companion died, or did you just say it was a friend?
I think I just said it was a friend. As I recall, Kieran went, she was a something one, wasn't she? And then you were like, I don't know. And then Kieran was like, oh, well, let me tell you.
Well, hopefully we can cross this one thing off your to-do list.
I appreciate your help, Cobalt Huntress.
And I yours. If you hadn't come to town, I wouldn't have gotten the job going after... that was Scarlet. Going after the Covenant. And all of that would not have happened, and there would not be a possibility of reinstating the honor of my title. So, for that, I am very grateful.
Of course. If you don't mind me asking your title, and at this, Kieran snaps shut the book and puts it in his lap as if to show that he is giving his full attention to his companion. Goes, the title of Cobalt Huntress, or Hunter, it's fallen out of favor with the people of the South here?
It has, most unfortunately. More and more mercenaries came, and some were quite adept at dealing with the monsters in this region, and our services were no longer required.
But you're blessed of
Damukna.
Damukna, thank you.
That name doesn't hold much weight anymore.
That is a shame. She's one of the few remnants left in this world.
But she is.
Have you communed with her ever? Spoken with your goddess?
What?
No, you would not have. You've meditated before, and as far
Not
as you
very
can
good at
tell, on when you used to be good at meditating, probably only when you were training. You haven't really meditated probably in a while, I imagine. You felt the presence of Damukna. You never communed with her. Closest you've gotten to communing with her was when you just died the other day.
Yep.
And you saw
Yeah.
the cobalt wolf.
I've never actually spoken to her. But I have felt her with me. And actually, ironically, I felt her presence the strongest when I died.
Yes, it's strange how our gods come to us when it seems things are all but finished with. Would you like to commune with her, Damukna?
No, I've never actually thought about that. I don't even know what I would say.
You've lived in service to this deity, have you not, for all your life?
Yes, but it's just something that's there, that I know is watching over us, watching over the Order.
How do you know this?
That's what I was taught. And like I said, I could feel her. So I know she's there.
Well, if you would ever like to speak with Damukna, there may be a way that I can assist you in this. Not strictly mechanically speaking. However, I can channel a commune spell through myself, reaching out to the planes, maybe if our dungeon master lets us.
Communing plus.
Look, I ask for it. You can say no, but I'm gonna ask.
Circle.
Legend lore is not a Pokedex.
Don't take this away from me, Sean. You
I'm
put the
giving
lore
you
in
a
your
lot
world.
with legend lore.
You put the
man.
lore in your world, and I just want to cheat my way through Wikipedia. That's what legend lore is.
It's like okay. Yeah, we get to see the legendary destruction of the ancient Gwyn Empire. We get to see the legendary creation of this and that. Oh, a family? A family? Yeah, they're politically powerful, but for the last.
Look, I'm not arguing against you. I'm just saying that. How dare
I
you?
will think about it.
Of course. And if there's ever anything else that I can do to help, I have I have a thing for the gods. And Kieran immediately flushes red and then picks up his book and starts reading again.
My God. I start watching as it gets lighter and try not to bask in the awkwardness of the situation.
Give me a perception check for the last hour of watch.
With disadvantage because you're trying to avoid Kieran.
No.
There's a whole
No.
quarter of the horizon you're not looking at because it's where Kieran is.
That's better. 25.
As the sun starts to rise, you know, Katya, that the Wyverns don't become active until maybe an hour or two after sunrise. Intentionally to wait for certain animals to come out. sometimes they'll be active at sunrise to try to capture creatures that are nocturnal that haven't gone to sleep yet. But generally speaking, a lot of these nocturnal weasels and whatnot, they have some trouble during the long dark because their instincts are messed up by the darkness.
Mhm.
So this is the most dangerous time of year for them, and they often get killed during the winter. And then the summertime comes and they breed like rabbits. And that's how the only way they can survive. You would see as the sun rises, there's at one point maybe you see like the wings outstretched of a wyvern that's waking up in the mountains. But for the most part, things are safe for the end of your watch as everyone starts to awaken and get ready. Timber, you wake up to salt flat weasel butt in your face as it's slowly kind of sliding off your head a little bit, and 11 other salt flat weasels on you.
Fucking swarm.
Oh, it immediately, it doesn't wake up. It doesn't open its eyes. That's why the way they have very big eyes, because they're nocturnal, and very big ears.
So they're so cute.
Like fennec fox ears, and these long snoots to eat bugs off their feather fronds. And it doesn't open its eyes. It just kind of crawls up into your arms. And kind of pulls on your fur and pulls itself up to nuzzle against your snoot and chin.
You've made some friends. Don't worry, they're very friendly. They will not hurt you. You can move.
I don't think he wants to.
That's fair. Well, you're going to need to move because we need to get going before the wyverns gets very active. You can take them with you. Probably would come. I'm not very smart right now.
You see, as you stand up, one just sort of flops down onto the ground. They all follow you though, as you're bringing them over, and you see you open the cart and you see Gil is there cooking breakfast as you're just putting these rodents into the cart. And he's what's with the rats? He looks over to Oriel, who's just kind of now waking up, and he goes, "It's fine. It's fine."
Wow.
Oh, your Sibian cloak.
I believe Scarlet paid 5 gold for that.
Scarlet actually did buy that for you.
Oh, that's right. And that was a
So,
whole thing.
Watch yourself.
Timber was like, "Get my cloak from Scarlet," and Kieran was like, "What are you talking about? You're a dog man hybrid."
Previous.
They all start to first of all, they're wandering about inside here, but a lot of them are quite tired though, so they do as nocturnal animals, they do cluster in your cloaks and fall asleep as you hear a loud clamoring of a cast iron pan that gets pulled off of a little wall, a piece of the wall, and you can see one kind of wandering out right now as it has this cast iron pan caught in its head, before hitting against the wall, and you hear it ringing, and then it kind of rolls out of it, and it's
Oh my god.
and then zigzags over and collapses into the pile of 12 salt flat weasels that are now yours.
You have a swarm of weasels. I expect names for every single one of them by next session. I hope you know.
I can do this. I can do this.
I was gonna say, Kieran just sacrificed his undead horse. Kaze is definitely gonna sacrifice all these weasels. Wyvern starts coming. He just opens the door and goes, "Go, my children," and they just scatter.
Fucking them out one at a time as a wyvern just goes.
Kevin!
And then you guys get a wyvern. No.
That was Alex's real goal.
We turn all the wyverns into weasels, and they add to our collection.
And then an hour later, they.
Alex, I think you should take 3 levels in Ranger and become a Swarmkeeper Ranger.
Yup.
But they're these weasels.
He just gets those automatically, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you're level 15 now. Only if you take the Swarmkeeper Ranger levels.
All right, everyone, we should get a move on.
Thank you.
Of course. Rocco.
Esren.
I'm in the other cart that's not infested with weasels.
Yeah.
What a line.
All right. So it takes the better part of the morning to continue through these Badlands. Would you like to cast Pass Without a Trace again and keep an eye out for wyverns?
Yes,
The last
please.
portion of the journey. Great. Everyone, give me stealth checks.
Oh,
Hearts roll real well.
Alright, rolling. Had to kill a bug.
Nice.
Katya and Huron, you would notice at probably maybe an hour into the journey, you would start to see wyverns active in the distance.
I just point it out without saying anything. With my spear.
What is everyone's stealth check?
32. Ah!
I thought we were doing perception checks, which makes me feel a lot better because I rolled really bad. I got an 18. Oh wait, no. 22.
Nice.
22, okay.
Wait, we had Pass Without a Trace, right?
Yeah. Okay. You are not discovered by the wyverns.
Yay! No wyvern mini.
Narrowly. Your lowest was a 21.
That was
the
me.
wyvern rolled a dirty 20. Cool. You complete the last leg of the journey through these Badlands before you kind of, because you've been you were at first ascending up to kind of where this Badlands plateaus, and you've been moving through, and that's where you met the Salt Flat Weasels. Now you reach a point when you are going down the zigzagged roads that lead into the basin that is the Gap of Glass. You reach the top of this cliffside. And looking out, you would see down below the wind whips up in your faces from down here. This bowl of salt flats is a vortex of wind, essentially. You can kind of see salt storms, essentially, in the distance. Katya, you would see just like the thin trails that are the 2 roads you can take, and then like the broken road that disappears into the salt storms. You're about 100 feet up at the top of this cliff, looking down into them.
Okay. Can I go ahead. Are you not done?
Go for it.
I was just gonna stop everybody and explain where we can go from here. So it's a little hard to make out, but if you look closely, there is a road that goes north a road that goes south, and a road that goes directly in the middle. I do not recommend taking the southern path. For reasons that the DM described earlier that I do not remember. But don't
they go out of the gap. They go out of the fields of glass.
They go around the fields of glass and they don't take you anywhere, or they take you around it without actually going into it, so that's not helpful. We can either, I'm going to leave the choice up to you. We can either take the northern path, which will take longer, but I know it is safer and I have a better sense of where we need to go. The path in the middle will be shorter, but more dangerous. There are landmarks that I have seen before that I will be able to sense where we are. But it is more dangerous than if we go north. Also, if we go north, I'm not due back for... No, I don't have a watch. I'm not due back for a while, but my order is up that way. So, whichever one sounds better to you, that is the way we will go. I have done both.
I think it's probably best.
What did Ilyuvania say, Kieran?
Let me ask her. Kieran puts the staff up against his face and goes, "Ring, ring, 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 oh Ilyuvania."
Yes. No.
Why, the crescent heart. Your voice is
has
beautiful.
always been able to do this.
Wow, I feel such a fool for never trying. Ilyuvania says to trust those who know best. Kieran looks over at Katya.
So me, and you should trust me, and we should take the shortest path, because we're a bunch of badasses, and this is gonna be completely fine.
Man, word shit. Wiswick shits his pants.
He doesn't have a spell, and I'd counter spell it if he did.
Oh, that was good.
Huntress, do either path take us closer to the fabled Glass Titan?
The center path would. If we were going to find it anywhere, it would be in the center path.
Kieran looks at Kaze and Wiswick, cocking an eyebrow. We did tell Raphael, thank you, disembodied voice. We did tell Raphael we would procure something from its back.
Scale.
Yeah, scale. And maybe a few extra to get us some cool items.
Yeah, if we get one, I mean, that's enough, at least for unfettered access of the Mordenkainen Tome, which was... Not Mordenkainen Tome, Maximilian Tome, which was pretty cool. I got some great spells from that thing. It sounds like we want danger.
Study to spell.
Turning to look at Oriel and his retainers, Kieran goes, "How do you all feel about crossing these very dangerous plains?"
Oriel will look back at Kieran and kind of... He himself also looking out at this path. Well, the northern pass is safe. And your order is there.
Safer. Yes. My order is there. We could potentially rest there.
Is your order like monster hunters like you are?
Yes.
Can we hire them to help us?
Time out. Are there any left?
Yes. There's not a lot of you, but there are plenty of you left. And anyone who is there, you could hire. They can hire.
Yes, there would be others there. that would likely help.
They any good?
I don't answer you. Potentially. We'd probably have to double back a little bit. It's huge.
The Glass Titan is so large. If it's not moving, you'd mistake it for a mountain, a small mountain.
If it's not moving, you'd mistake it for a small mountain.
You've never seen it. You've only heard stories of it.
I have not seen it, but other hunters in my order have told me stories.
I'm sorry, you said that you could help us find it, but you've never seen it before.
But if I know what I'm looking for, I can very easily track it. And I'm looking for a small mountain. How hard can that be to find?
Huron gestures to the horizon. How many small mountains do we see, Sean?
You see endless flat salt and a storm of you can't see the horizon ends before you can see beyond what is the basin of this salt flat. Like if it's like you're looking at Hoth, but instead of the snow, it's a salt. You look across and the horizon ends before you see any mountains or anything like that. There's just a bowl, and to their left and right, you don't see the mountains or cliff sides curving. It disappears before it can. This is a massive salt flat. It is hundreds upon hundreds of miles across.
I have an idea. If we're gonna successfully do this, right?
For sure.
I mean, it seems like it's a big excavation. I don't know what you'd call it.
Excursion.
Thank you. Why don't we cast Sending on somebody that Katya knows in her order and see if they're willing to help us out before we commit to going there? Because if we don't get the help that we need halfway through, then we might not have enough supplies to make it all the way to our end goal, considering that we don't know where we're actually going. And we're trying to find something that nobody's ever seen before. Neither any of us have ever seen before.
Sending requires you to be familiar with the target. I also believe that with enough gold, if Katya is the standard of her people, they will help us.
They will.
I see your point.
Katsu, you also know that there are the goblin tribes in the central path that can also help. If you give them enough gifts and pay them properly.
If we do want to go the center path and do not want to go up to my order, we would be able, with enough bargaining and trading, because they're tricky little things, we might be able to enlist the help of the goblins that live there.
I'm leaning back towards the shorter path then. I mean, this is gonna be rough. I want to get through this as quickly as possible.
Oriel comes back from talking with Gil and Rosen. Looks to you and says, Gil and Rosen know what they signed up for when they came on this adventure. We will go in whatever path you lead, Huron.
Looking to Katya, Kieran goes, you know these lands best. You know what we're capable of. I defer to your best judgment. I think that the north might be a good way to go to meet your people, but we also need to We would also very much like to procure these alchemic goods from the Titan and the worms. Just worms. I don't know why I said it like that. So, what do you think is best?
In terms of efficiency, my fellow hunters would be more valuable than the goblins, and more trustworthy than the goblins. So, I would recommend going that way.
So it shall be. Come then, to the lair of the Kobold Hunters. Where exactly is this we're going?
It's called the Leviathrok Order.
Then, friends, companions, to Leviathrok Order. And Kieran does
So-
that noise.
Katya, you lead them down the what are called the Bleeding Cliffs. And you all would notice this as you're descending this zigzag path down to the salt flats itself. You look back up, and the cliffside has this beautiful mix of deep crimson reds and whites that make up the stratified layers of it. And on particularly both cold and warm days, there's sort of this red liquid that either freezes on the side of the cliff coming out or flows. The legends, Katya, say that deep within these cliffs is the original core spawn, and that this blood that comes out of the cliffs, that cries out of the cliffs, is its ichor. You reach the basin, and you all feel the whipping salt winds hitting you in the face as you see the hexagon-like patterns across the salt flats, and you look out into nothing as there is just a white sandstorm beyond. A tattered, like a wooden pole with like a tattered blue scarf blowing on it points north as Katya leads you in the northern path to the Sapphirine Bluffs. And that's where we'll end tonight.
Level 13?
I mean, you did find that cloak, and you did tame, sort of, a bunch of weasels.
Yeah, Kaze did do those things that we did not.
Excellent. Then Kaze
Yeah,
is
then
level
I get to
13
level
now.
15. I can take
To become a-
Swornkeeper.
Fucking weasels.
It would be amazing.
Fucking weasels. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining us for Advantage in Paradise tonight. Please join us again next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday night, for the next leg of the journey as they travel north to the Leviathrok Order to attempt to fulfill their task within the Fields of Glass. We also have upcoming a Jasper's Game Day in Paradise. We're going to have a whole bunch of D&D games and other different types of TTRPG games to raise money for Jasper's Game Day charity to support suicide prevention. It's a great cause. We're big fans of Jasper's. Join us on July 22nd to 25th for that. More news coming soon, including an auction to bid for seats in those games with some pretty cool people we've discovered so far in our adventures. More Paradise content. Join us this Thursday for Relaxing in Paradise, where I will finish painting this worm that they've been referring to as the sand lurker that they're going to get some glands from, as well as potentially maybe this Thursday I'll work on building the glass titan in case they find it.
Somebody needs to get painted.
Oh yeah, Katya needs to get painted. This behemoth of a mini.
She's freaking huge.
She's so big, Shannon.
I know.
She's so big.
She's tall, okay? I follow the directions. She's tall.
This is old Kieran. Granted, he was very short. He was the shortest of everyone.
Oh, this is Scarlet for comparison. She's tall. I think it's fine.
No, it's fine. It's just she is very big. But yes, she also needs to get painted. So join me on Relaxing in Paradise for that. We also might play some games. I might jump back into Valheim. Haven't been there in a while.
It's not working right now.
Oh, I'll talk to
I thought he
Josh.
fixed it.
Uh,
Did he break it again?
No.
Sea of Thieves.
if not, we might play some Sea of Thieves. On Sunday, we have the Sean and Shannon Power Hour. We will recap tonight's episode and catch up there. In the TTRPG community, Shannon and I are going to be in the Season 3 of Scales Above from Roll for Damage, which will be coming out on July 9th, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's what we decided.
Currently, it's July 9th. And we just concluded the 3-shot with DM Mike Farty from Wonders and Blunders, which is on YouTube now, so check that out. Otherwise, join us again here on all of our programming, but if just for D&D, come join us next Monday, 7 p.m. to continue this journey. Shannon, who are we rating tonight?
Damn it.
Got him.
Friends who roll dice. Let's rate them.
Friends who roll dice. Excellent. Everyone, say goodbye. Oops, I wrote that wrong. Say goodbye, and we'll see y'all next week.
What if I want to say toodaloo instead?
You can say whatever you want, because you're my good boy for taming these weasels. You won today's game.
I did.
Hooray!
I did.
I have never written a name wrong so many times.
It's literally 4 words. Friends who roll dice.
Do you know what I
There you
keep
go.
doing is I keep skipping words, and I wrote friends roll dice, friends who roll, and then I got it. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Take us out, Alex.
Okay.
Who's Alex?